I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. This is a regular meeting for Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll?
I will. Michael Bowles.
Present.
Stephanie Nowers. Dee McKee.
Yep.
Maxwell Sumner.
Present.
Bill Gamble.
Here.
Dimitri Fonoff.
Here.
Ron Bernier.
Present.
Madam Mayor, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. The approval of the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to pull something from the consent agenda? Assemblyperson Sumner?
I'll go first, so give Dee a chance to get it open. But I'd like to pull AM 25 or 26005.
Okay. Madam Clerk, did you get that? I did. Okay. And then I think Assemblyperson McKee, did I hear that you would like? Okay. Sure. So while she is doing that, I would like to ask I'm not going to move. Go ahead if you have it. Okay.
It's a resolution or AM.
Is it resolution or AM? Resolution. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else have anything? Okay. I do this evening. Is there any objection by the Assembly to us adding a special order of the day to have former Assemblyperson Steve Culligan recognize former Assemblyperson Ron Arvin, who recently passed away? Is there any objection? We'll order and put the special orders of the day after the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, then the agenda is approved. And for the pledge, Steve, where are you? I'll ask you to lead us in the pledge, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if you'd like to come, and I'm sure you know how to turn on the mic. And
I've unlearned that skill.
yeah, well, 6
For
years
those
up
of you
here,
that-
you should learn something.
For those of you that may not know me, I was a former elected official for 2 terms in the Borough Assembly, and I have passed through the 12-step program of recovery. I wanted to take a few minutes to recognize a friend, a character, a real life individual of Alaska, and I've put some pictures down with Mr. Ovnoff to hand out and some others back at staff. Ron and I served on the Assembly about the same time, and we very much enjoyed, and first of all, thank all of you for your time and your service and the like is serving for the Assembly. And I'll tell you, I'm quite proud of the meeting you had before this of discussing a difficult issue of lake setbacks. On our time on the Assembly, we had a unique cast of characters. We had a surveyor. I'm a nerd. Ron's a construction expert. We have a former mayor that was in real estate and a broker. We all had our unique skills. We all kind of battled it out, but at the end of the day, we respected each other. We came together, got stuff done when there weren't and wasn't a lot of money. We also, like you, were trying to survive the free boat and all the other fun things that we have to deal with. At the end of the day, we'll just discuss. Ron was a great guy and a character. Like I say, he had quite a prestigious career in construction, in forestry, out at the port. He was born in Sitka in 1965, from a family of 5 with sisters and 3 brothers. He was the second youngest. Married to his wife Nina for 33 years, with 3 children that are now 27, 29, and 31. And he and I spent many a times, we had a construction company in Bangladesh. And we had plenty of, I was, some days I didn't know if I was coming home with a black bag over my head and zip ties around my wrists, but we had plenty of time to have some meaningful, serious conversations, even though Ron wasn't the most, big hug kind of guy. But Ron also served as on the Port Commission, board member, Transportation Advisory Board, Parent Advisory Council of the school district, sector member of Taiwan-Alaska Trade Investment Cooperation, also like to be in the student government in college, Port Commission, Borough's Transportation Advisory Board, Committee on School Issues. He was on the ADA board for a number of years, which really helped experience with the borough and the port and other stuff. He was on the Assembly from 2009 to 2015 and served as deputy mayor from 2010 to 2015. He was a top 40 under 40 in 1998, and Ron passed away at 60. And just to mention that, just so keep your friends close and watch your health, he came home from a construction job. He was the vice president of construction at Otna, and came home from Alabama with the flu, progressed, and January 7th, complications took him out, and very unexpectedly. And hopefully you'll keep your family close, and you'll keep Ron's family and children in your thoughts and prayers. Ron just had an incredible career in logistics and China and import and export. And we had a very, how to describe it, high level of mutual disrespect for each other as friends, always kidding each other. And, but he had a unique skill set and talent for figuring things out and bringing people together. Memorable moments on the assembly. I sat down here where Mr. Gamble's sitting, representing Wasilla. They placed Ron over here so I wouldn't get in trouble, and Mayor DeVilbiss and the like. And we'd be in a very tight economic times, trying to figure out how we're going to fund certain projects. And like being new, we're almost like shooting up at the sky looking for pots of money. And our friend Jim Culver in the background, who was very skilled, and it irritated me at the time, but we chuckle about it all the time. I had to appreciate the skills that he had. He'd be almost proverbially behind us with a dustpan and a broom, sweeping up small amounts of money from different projects to fund the ski resort or hockey, et cetera. And we learned a lot very quickly and figured that out. Ron would always say, people coming at me, they're either smiling or frowning. That was kind of his poker tell, that he was getting ready to unload something on you that you probably didn't want to hear. I learned a lot from Ron when we first helped run his campaign for the assembly and other things. He's very clear about his position as a developer and getting things done. You know, developers, their rules and responsibilities of good neighbors. Environmentalists, nobody sets out to purposely harm the environment. Conservationists, everyone wants to conserve and use resources wisely. Preservationists, on the other hand, well, I said there just was no opportunity for dialogue, but the rest was there was meaningful dialogue and we could work something out as a community and be productive. I was proud of you guys in your last meeting. A month ago, I was talking to Ron, and a good friend of ours, Earl Lackey, passed away about a month before. Earl was somebody that, he's just a great guy. He'd always say, what's the program? His kind of want to know what's the outline, what's going on. But our last meeting with Earl, we kind of got a big chuckle out of, God so loved the world, he knew better than to send a committee. And Ron was that kind of person. He was a leader, leaned forward, was in charge, back off, but he was looking for challenge. It was tough being Ron's friend. I'm a nerd, dyslexic. I don't know how the heck we are really close, but like I say, we developed a high level of mutual disrespect. But kind of like the Dilbert, kind of cartoon, the mom takes her son Dilbert to the doctor and trying to figure out what's wrong with, well, son, man, he's got the knack. He's got the knack of construction. Ron assembled close-knit set of friends that had some high skills, and he could get stuff done, figure stuff out. When we were in Bangladesh, we were a subcontractor to China Harbor Engineering, a bunch of young 20-year-old engineers. I was over there flying drones, doing some training, doing mapping, quantity materials, a bunch of dredging down a place called Chittagong. And they were always cheating our numbers and maximizing their numbers to report to the Navy general for billing. Ron was a typical Ron, figured out, learned enough Bengali, talked to the general, big picture of him standing down at the port in front of the project, sent it to the Chinese and said, hey, look at my buddy. And we got it figured out and things started moving along, even though I wasn't sure if we were getting out of there alive. I had a contract with the SOB, guy that was proud of his title, the Surveyor of Bangladesh. We got a chuckle every time we had to say that. But same kind of thing, we were awarded a project, and of course, they only had half the funding they told you did, and they wanted you to go find the other half to pay yourself, and the like. And in the pictures are kind of some typical Ron stuff. Number one, his family. One thing I learned, and I just kind of expressed to all you in the community, hanging out with Ron and having plenty of times in some serious situations, that always outwardly talk about family, and he expressed, his worries and the like, but just loved and adored his 3 girls and his wife. And we had other funny times. This one you'll see. What the heck's this? This is in Dhaka, Bangladesh. At the time, we were talking about political signs. These things, it's like wallpaper of political signs. It was just a funny. Other picture here included, him at some projects. And here's one, Ron, the man of the people. We were at the Dhaka University meeting a bunch of young guys interested in public policy and stuff, and had a good time. At the end of the day, Ron had a unique personality, contributed to the community deeply, and I wanted to express for both of us our appreciation of your guys' public service, Miss Lonnie and Mr. Spiropoulos and staff. We always comment about how great it was, and we really appreciate your help, how helpful you were, and working with staff to figure things out. And I think we've all kind of known Mr. Arvin in different ways. We will be having a celebration of life for him on Sunday from 1 to 4 in Wasilla at the Band of Brothers Cafe. And either way, I would just ask that you keep Mr. Arvin in your thoughts and prayers, and be glad that God did not send a committee. So if there's anybody else, I know there's plenty of people in the crowd that knew Ron or surprised that he passed away, and it was unexpected, but thank you for this opportunity, and God bless you, and I hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is on our agenda is minutes of the preceding meeting, joint assembly school board and meeting on the 9th of December 25, and the assembly regular meeting on the 16th of December of 25. Are there any changes to the minutes that are being presented? Oh, I hear that. Sorry, guys. Hearing none, then the minutes have been approved as presented. The next items on our agenda are the agency reports. City? No? Okay. I don't see anybody else from any of the cities. Don't know for sure if the mayor from Palmer and Wasilla, from Houston, are aware of that. I need to reach out to them to be sure they know that. School district, please.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the Assembly, Manager Brown. As always, thank you for the opportunity to address the Assembly. We are in our 3rd week for second semester, and it has been an interesting couple of weeks. I want to really start comments by thanking Mr. Adams and his team. I had no idea in this job that I am filling how much of my time would center around the weather and predicting the weather and trying to respond to the weather. But alas, especially in these winter months, it seems to take up a lot of room. And while we were not able to keep school open on Friday just due to road conditions, there were several days before Friday where we were really on the cusp. And if it wasn't for roads being plowed and sanded overnight, we would not have been able to have school all of those days these last couple of weeks. So I just want to thank the borough, the state as well for being out and being responsive because it really does and did help us keep schools open. So thank you. I'm also happy to report, some people may have saw this, we posted it on our Facebook page, but Matsu School District is continuing to show great results with our AP program. So the Advanced Placement Program in 2023, just a couple of years ago, Matsu only had one high school that was recognized on the AP Honor Roll, which is an award that the College Board provides based on the number of students who participate as well as the percentage of students who score a 3 or higher on those tests. And in 2025, we had 5 high schools that were recognized, which is really great progress. Also, as we progress through our budget process, next month we will be soliciting feedback from our families and the community regarding budget priorities. I'll make sure I share that information with the manager so he can pass it on to the assembly so you can take a look. And then just a couple of upcoming dates. We do have a regular school board meeting tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock. Those meetings are live streamed on our Facebook page for individuals who aren't able to attend in person. And then in February, we have parent conference days coming up February 9th and February 16th. Winter activities are also in full swing, so there's lots of opportunities to get in schools and see students performing. There is cross-country skiing, wrestling, basketball, hockey, a number of opportunities. So I hope you get a chance to see those students in action. Thank you for your support, and I can take any questions if you have them.
Any questions? Nope, guess not. Thank you. And let's see, I don't see Todd here for the state report. Joint Assembly and School Board Committees, anyone want to report? Okay, Assembly Person Fauna, go ahead.
We did have a meeting when it comes to financial things, and we're kind of understand both the bodies what we're going to try to work towards, depending, there's a state is involved as well. So I think we're going to probably announce more of the things and potential of what we will be able to propose or try to get towards when we're going to have the joint school board assembly meeting. But that's pretty much it.
Alrighty, thank you. Are there any public relations from the assembly? I'll just put on the record that I did yesterday do a proclamation and attended and presented that proclamation to the MLK Foundation, and they had an event yesterday afternoon at the Glen Massey, and they do it there every year, and I was able to be there with them. Okay, Mr. Brown, you have a report, sir?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we are to that time of the year where assessment notices are about to go out. So we invite the borough assessor, if you want to come forward, as well as Ms. Heindel, to provide you some insights on what we're seeing with values across the borough before those notices go out, and talk a little bit about what folks should do if they get their notices and feel that their values are in some way not correct. And so with that, I'll turn it over to the borough assessor, and we'll just have a little bit of conversation about some of the numbers that they have.
Thank you for that. I'm going to start out with what I found to be what the public is generally most interested in. We're going to go through a lot of information, but I'm going to go directly to it's been my experience as the keen interest of the taxpayers, and that is how much your value is going up for residential housing. And the answer to that question is 7.41%. Now, it's also been my experience that that's often confused as that's the amount of taxes going up. Well, we all know that's not the case. It's just the appraised taxable value on average is going up 7.41% for residential housing. And we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Can you say your name for the record?
Oh, pardon me, Oliver Quern from the Assessment Division. So this is an overview of our assessment process that we do yearly. We're out doing inspections all year long. We're doing administrative work all day long. Some key dates is by Alaska statute. All taxable property is assessed its condition is January 1st of the given year. The assessment notices will be mailed out on January 28th, and the appeal period will begin on January 29th. The appeal period will end on February 27th. Those are important dates because in order to have your appeal rights validated, you have to appeal within that 30-day period. So that's very important that people know that. After that, in April, we'll start doing appeal hearings, and the assessment roll will be certified on May 29th. Okay, this slide shows a lot of the administrative tasks that we perform in the assessment office, and it shows the different numbers between 2024 and 2025. What's of particular interest that I'd like to draw your attention to is the 8th bullet down, where it says new parcels. In 2024, we created 526 new parcels, which is not a small amount of new parcels. But in 2025, we created 1,003 new parcels. So there's obviously a demand for fair land, and we're going to talk about that as we progress through this presentation. This is self-explanatory, just as the parcel counts for 2024 and 2025 for the various property types. As I stated, it speaks for itself. Okay, this looks at the different property types as well, and it shows the amount of appraised value and the amount of assessed value. So if you look at it this way, appraised is what we're valued at. Assessed is appraised minus any tax relief programs such as senior citizens, what have you, the various tax. So our exemptions are the exempted amount for the various property types are the differences in value between the two bars. Those are exempt, appraised versus taxable. For appraised value, from last year, we saw a 10.32% increase, and for the taxable value, we saw an increase of 10.95%. Again, this shows the trend of appraised versus taxable from 2017 to present. You can see the trend is clear. Appraised and taxable are both going up. When we look at the difference between appraised and taxable percent difference, it's hovering around 28% to 30% from 2022 to present. Okay, this pie chart shows the amounts of the various exemption programs, and you'll note that the greatest amount is the Senior Citizens Disabled Veterans Program, which we've seen a 4.85% increase since last year. This is our new construction by count for 2026, from 2016 to 2026. We weren't quite as strong, or we didn't have quite as many as last year, but you can see the overall trend. We're still one of our greatest years of new construction, especially for single-family residential. but we're also strong on multifamily and commercial as well. So where, new construction in the valley, it remains strong. So this is the average appraised value. This is what I opened with here. From 2025 to 2026, this is our 7.41% increase on average. It's key, it's on average. Some people may go higher, some people may go lower, but the average is 7.41%. This is our appeals process. Typically less than 0.5% of appeals are received. I guess the most important thing that I have to talk about in the appeals process is to call our office. If you have any concerns about your assessed value, call us first before you file the appeal, the formal appeal, because we can resolve a lot of issues before even having to file that appeal. So again, it's very important that they call our office first. They don't have to, but we ask that they do. Okay, vacant land sales and land assessment findings. So since March 2000, early 2023, the amount of sales that we're receiving, the amount of vacant land sales that are being reported to us, we get that right, that are being reported to us has increased. And that's a direct result due to the increase in volume of vacant land sales. You saw earlier where we reported the increase in parcel creations that our office experienced this year. And so we have a lot more data than we can work with. We have data that we didn't have in the past. Our data is actual market sales. So again, there's been an increase in volume of reporting and an increase in volume of bare land sales, vacant land sales. This also gives us an opportunity to address and fix long-standing valuations problems that we've had with land. Market trends, we're one of Alaska's fastest growing regions. We have strong residential construction activity. Kind of an interesting statistic is over 60% of new construction of single-family residential homes in Alaska have occurred in the Mat-Su Valley. There's a continued demand for developable land, vacant land, as we talked about with the 526 new parcels during 2024 versus the 1,003 for 2025. I believe that's a 477 parcel count increase between those 2 years. Some of the housing market influences. Us that have been here for a while, we've always heard about the symbiotic relationship between Anchorage and the Mat-Su Valley. Anchorage doesn't have a lot of new construction of single value. Their growth has been pretty much vertical with multifamily. They have you've heard about the 10,000 homes in 10 years, try to fix the problem with the shortage of supply of homes. Whereas the valley is dominated by single family homes on larger lots. And that's what people like. Another factor is the rising home prices. When you look at what MLS reports has the average sale price in the valley and the average sale price in Anchorage, it's a $77,000 difference. So over the years, that difference is shrinking, but you still get more house for the money in the valley. And it's just more affordable out here. There's been a demand for vacant land for people to build custom homes on, owner-built homes. We're seeing that occur as well. So what are our challenges? It's no secret that the assessed values of vacant land in the Mat-Su Valley are low. Anybody that has anything to do with real estate knows that. Probably most property owners would sell their land for what we have it assessed for. We have that problem. It's not unknown. It's been around for a while. But what we do have is that increased sales volume, which I've talked about, and it's given us the ability to fix that longstanding problem. It's going to enable us to be more equitable, to be more accurate, and press on with the correction of the problem. So when we did our initial analysis with this increase in sales that we have to work with, we found that we're about half on average throughout the entire borough of the sale prices. So we're about half a market value, or 50% assessment ratio, as we would call it. But just needless to say, we're at half the market. So we do have a systematic undervaluation of land throughout the borough that's occurred. So what are we going to do to fix that? Well, what we're going to have to do, and what we started doing, is developing new land models. This is not trending. It's throwing out all the old information, getting new market data, and developing brand new land valuation models. And that's gonna work. It's ambitious, but we can do it, and we have a plan to do it. What are we gonna do in the meantime? We made a decision to increase land appraised values across the board by 15%. This is going to improve fairness and uniformity. It's a good first step, but it's not going to fix the problem. And again, the 15% increase in land value does not equate to anything to do with an increase, 50% increase in taxes. So what we've done is develop a 6-year revaluation plan where we're going to break up the borough into 6 areas. And over the next 6 years, we're going to revalue, develop models for each area. And as we go through those 6 areas, we're going to start applying land values and increasing land values in an equitable manner. We can't calibrate to 100% right off in one area and not do it to the other areas. So it's going to be delicate how we do it, but we do have a 6-year plan to get there. So, as I stated, after the 15% increase, this blanket increase, this first step, we're still going to be far below market value. It's not a correction. And what's really important is that we adhere to the 6-year plan. If we don't take it on, if we don't go straight towards it, we're not going to fix the problem. It's an ambitious plan. It's a lot of work, but it needs to be done. So, what's this going to do to homeowners? For the average residential homeowner, an acre plus or minus lot in the Mat-Su Valley, it's not going to do much. Our appraised values for single-family homes are about 94% of market, and they have been for quite a few years. Where we're not at market is people on large acreage homesteads and people holding land for speculation or whatever. We're low on those, and that's an inequity that we need to fix, and we're going to do that. So, the key takeaways to this presentation is a 7.41% increase in average for single-family residential homes does not correspond to the equal increase in taxes. Likewise with the land, the 15% borough-wide increase in land does not correspond to the same amount in taxes. That's a common mistake or misunderstanding that I've seen the public have for many years working in this field. New construction remains strong. Demand for vacant land is trending up. It's given us the tools to fix longstanding problems. Our 6-year plan, the importance of sticking to it in order to fix the problem. This is nothing that we're going to be able to fix overnight, but again, we'll get it done. The appeal period begins January 29th and ends February 27th. In order to have their appeal rights, they need to appeal within that time period. So if you're late, you lose your appeal rights. So it's important that the public knows those 2 dates. You can call assessments anytime if you have any questions whatsoever, but especially during the appeal period, call us before you file a formal appeal. A lot of this stuff on the land that I'm talking about is on our website. It's on the Matsu Borough website, I think, as we speak. It was put on there today. So the first page of our website, you can click on it, and it goes into a lot of this land revaluation and what we've been doing and our processes for fixing the problem. We have the QR code, and on the bottom is a link, but it is available on the Matsu Borough website. If you don't have any questions, that pretty much concludes my presentation. Yes, sir.
Okay, Assembly, let's start down at this end, okay. Assemblyperson Fowler,
right.
go ahead. Which one?
So I have 3-part question. First one, with land value will be increasing to reflect or start moving closer towards what the real market price. As a builder and somebody who works in land, you could have on the same street, same subdivision, same size of a acre size, but one of them could be a completely useless lot, whether it has a big hill or a swamp, and the other one is nice, level, good buildable lot. And according to our websites, they're assessed identical, even though real value is very different. And I want to know what we're going to do or what we'll be doing to make sure we address that issue. I know that that issue exists. Are you aware of that issue, and are we doing anything to address that issue?
Through the mayor. We certainly are aware of that issue, and we do have that issue, and that issue is existed. But generally speaking, we address that issue. In other words, I don't know how many instances you found that in, if it's just one instance, but we could correct it. What we do is lower the value for swamp. We lower the value for topography, unbuildable topography. There's various reasons that we will lower the value and adjust from the baseline value down. And if that's the case, give me a call or give the office a call. We'll look at it and we'll fix it. But obviously, we do not have a negative decrement on the swampy property in your particular case.
Okay, I don't have the case. I've seen it over and over where 2 lots side by side, and one of them is useless, and the other one is of a high value. But on our website,
We should have addressed that when we go through the land valuation process. We're looking at topography, we're looking at soils maps, and we're doing our best to determine if there is something, problem with a particular property, let it be swamp or steep topography. But then we also drive out and do a review of the properties and physically inspect them. That's got to occur. For those ones that, if you see that happen numerous times, those are numerous mistakes. And that's something that as we go through and do this revaluation, this 6-year plan, we got to be, keen to make that occur. Because if that is occurring, quite simply, that's a mistake. I know that we have numerous adjustments for numerous properties on parcels throughout the borough that I could show anybody. I can go through area and show the adjustments that we have.
Okay. Well, I hope that we take that in consideration as we're
Okay.
increasing the land or making it more. And if it's a 6-year plan, I really hope that we are taking that account because like I said, same street, it could be a same subdivision, same size, and they're appraised identical same, but the real life is one lot is worth a lot less than the other. Second thing, I know when people have assessed value that is less what their real house worth, they kind of keep it to themselves. They kind of quiet. They don't want to go and say, "Hey, my property actually worth more. Please make an adjustment that way." That's just,
Right.
Most people are probably in that category. However, I have found somebody reached out to me that they bought a property and they have bought it for significantly less what the because maybe it was a problematic or whatever than what assessed value was on the borough. And even when they brought the closing paperwork from title company and they bought it through open market, or they brought an appraisal, that it was considered, but that was not, the value was not changed to match that. What can we do to address that? And that usually applies to the properties maybe that are been kind of had significant damage, mold, and they're up for demolition, things like that. So more there's a value of the land and not necessarily in the building. And that's what I had people ask me, why is it so difficult to make that adjustment for when the property not worth and they paid a lot less than what we assessed it at.
Okay, so if there's any damage to the property or they bought it, there's damage that we're not aware of, we will, if we get a call, it's our job to go out there and do an assess of that damage, look at it, make adjustments accordingly. Now, the real estate market is an imperfect market, and we have to value one of our important tenets is to value everything equitably. In other words, if you have this house by one builder, square footage X amount, and the same house over here on the same type of land, they should be valued equitably. So we do our best to value those homes equitably. And so somebody isn't getting a tax break or paying less or more than the other person. Now, saying that, the real estate market is an imperfect market, and we value based on the middle of the market. In other words, you have the high houses and low houses in this imperfect market, and we're valuing at the middle, and that's to maintain equity. So if we get the information that the home sold for less than what we have on it, and we can do a comparative analysis that shows that they probably got a good deal, then we'll support our value, and that's to maintain equity. We do have an office policy, it's called a market adjustment, that for that first year, we will lower it to the sell price. And then we will wait a year and it will go back into everything else. But they have the right to appeal that. But we can't always just lower it to the market forever. I mean, lower it to their particular sell price. They may have got a very good deal. They may have bought it from somebody they know, a friend. There might have been, the person was in a situation where he needed to sell the house. There's a lot of factors that we have to go through. I hope that answers your question.
I hope that's how we treat our residents. I do have just a concern when there's a independent appraisal is hired, and I once many years ago had a similar issue, and appraisal showed one value, and that's on the page 10 of your report. That is always concerning part is that we'd have 138 people appealing, and then ultimately adjustment only made to 4. That is, I don't know, are all these 134 people are wrong, so I'm just saying, I just want to make sure that we're transparent with public, and there's a really good process of people, if they disagree with that, so they can address those issues, and we take their request seriously. That's calling my main concern.
Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Quern, for your report tonight. Could we go to page 5? And just so I understand the numbers correctly here. Thank you. The total appraised value for properties in the Matsu Borough is $22,136,705,794. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So my question is, under commercial property, there's almost a $2 billion difference in appraised value and taxable value. Can you explain to me why that is?
A lot of that's our schools. We value our schools at a commercial model, so they're actually considered a commercial property. And, you know, there's quite a bit, all our borough building that we're in, any state buildings that are
Tax
we
exempt.
value as a commercial property. In other words, you know, we value residentials, residential, commercials, commercial, and, you know, multifamily is multifamily, but if they're have an exemption on them, they're still valued under that model. It's just the difference in exempt and the taxable values.
Okay, so the definition of what a commercial property is I
Yeah.
guess
So,
that-
yeah,
okay.
all our schools, for example, which would be a
All right,
pretty
so
large amount.
I have the same question for the vacant land. There's almost a $550 million or more than $550 million difference in assessed and taxable vacant land. Can you explain to me?
Those would fall under the same categories that I just talked about,
Okay.
but also we have a lot of land that's state-owned, federally owned, native owned, that are all exempt.
Borough land? Okay,
Right.
all right, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, Assemblyperson Bowles, go ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Karen, very much for this presentation. So I'm curious. So I have concerns. In District 1, that's what I represent. A lot of people are large lot owners, farmers, third generation family members that have inherited large parcels of land, homesteaders. And I understand this process is aimed to be equitable, but a lot of the people in District 1 that I'm a fellow resident with are going to be hit the hardest, it seems, versus people in other areas where they're in housing developments that are on 0.92 acre lots and things like that. So in my mind, it doesn't seem very equitable to target, if you will, third generation Alaskans that own 40 acres or 100 acres, 120 acre parcels, farmers. I would think that that we would want to figure out a different approach. And I'm also curious, how are these, how do we come to these numbers at the borough? So what programs are used, what resources are used to actually come up with these numbers? So how does the assessor's office say this piece of property with on 1 acre with a 3-bedroom home that's 1,600 square foot is worth $650,000 or $350,000?
Well, that's a good question, and I can go into it. So first of all, we operate under Alaska statute. The Alaska statute says you'll assess property at full and true value. So less any exemptions. You mentioned farmers. There's a farm use exemption where farm property is valued at $500 an acre. Other than that, unless the law changes, whatever size the acreage is, I have to value it according to state law, which is full and true value. So unless some sort of exemption is made through the legislature or something like that, I have to follow the law.
So where do you get this
Now,
full value? I mean, what programs? For example, I can go to Willow and I can look at a home, or Zillow, look at a home, and it says it's for sale for $549,000.
right. Okay. So in a nutshell, what we do is we look at properties by design type and year built. And so if we see, for instance, ranch homes at this square foot are selling for this much per square foot, we acknowledge that. And we'll look at all the data points that we have along the line. And from that, it's generally smaller is a higher cost per square foot. As you increase it, it goes lower. We'll track that for ranch houses. And then we'll match that against what's going on in the market. That'll change as we see it occur in the market. So it's an analytical process. For commercial, we use what's called Marshall and Swift Valuation Service, which is nationally recognized. That they come and they look at values, they speak with contractors, they calculate local costs for specifically the Matsu Valley, various types of properties. So they're nationally recognized, and that's what we use generally for commercial properties. We will look at income approaches to compare them with what we get through the Marshall Swift Valuation Service, which is cost approach valuation. Land is done similarly. We look at the sell price per square foot or for commercial, but sell price per acre generally for residential and non-commercial. And we look at how it tracks for acreage and cost, and we develop a valuation curve. For instance, in Excel will produce a formula, and we'll use that formula to plug in to compare what we find in the market, which that curve represents the market, and those will be the new values that we apply to the land.
So, okay, so, and then you said this is going to happen over 6 years. And so land.
Over 60 years, pardon me?
6 years, six
Right,
years.
right, the
correct.
6-year
Yeah,
plan.
not 6 year. And so at 15%, is that 15% per year or is that 15%?
No, that's just this year.
So it's 15 times 6, so 90%.
No, that's not correct. 15% this year is just getting us closer to the overall goal. But what we're going to do is go through and work each area and then probably calibrate them down. And at some point where we can be equitable and apply the values. So, I can't specifically tell you, it's going to work A plus B plus C plus D, but we'll track it in a manner, we'll get the work done, and as you probably perceiving, it's going to be tough to lay them down equitably, but we're going to do that because that's in the law too. We got to be
The manager would like to contribute.
Yeah, I'll weigh in. So through the mayor to the assembly and to Mr. Bowles specifically, so this kind of came up a few months ago, right? About the study area, because one of the study areas that they started in was, let's just say east of the river. It wasn't all District 1. And what that study area for vacant land values actually revealed is that those land values in that area were actually at 36% of fair market value, not 50%. And so in theory, you could just take that and run that up to about 94% of fair market value, but then it would create inequity across the borough for all other vacant land. So we're not doing that. And that's what I said on the record when that came up in one of our regular meetings. Mm-hmm. Now, we're somewhere between that 36 and 50%. What we need to do is take the 6 years to look at the rest of the borough and calibrate what the differences are, because what's happening east of the river for vacant land might not be exactly what's happening in the Northern Valley. So we need to take the time to do that, and the borough is so big and we only have so much staff, so we're just going to do it over time. And that's why we wanted to communicate there's a plan to that. What we're doing this year with vacant land is moving all vacant land 15%. Nobody's getting singled out. Because even if we do that, and let's say vacant land went up hypothetically 7% this year in value, if we move it 15%, we actually only close that gap that's at least 50% by 8%, right? So we're not making great ground, but we probably need to start somewhere because this is going to get corrected over time. And if we don't fix it, this is a problem. I'll be honest with you, I'd love to do nothing with this because it's not going to be popular. But the problem is once you know about a problem, you can't unknow it. And the issue is people that own vacant land or perhaps have these large parcels with homes on them arguably are paying disproportionately less than people that have 1 acre lots with homes on them. And so that's where it creates an inequity. And so we have to start working to reconcile that. And arguably, if you can get to that 94% of fair market value, which is our goal, the good thing about that is then you, as the assembly, get to leverage the mill rate to figure out what you want taxes to be. The challenge is the blue notices go out and everybody's like, taxes are going up 7 or 8%. That's not going to happen. And Cheyenne and I have already spent some time working through this. It's just the budget for us is a process. We can't answer the question right now because we don't have all the data to do it. But I can tell you what we've talked about doing, and I'll just say it on the record because you're going to get phone calls once the notices go out. Because people, now, having said that, 7% is not 13% or 12%, which we have had in the past couple of years. So it's not as bad as it has been. But we're going to work to bring you a budget that minimizes tax impact, which means we're going to go to work and figure out what those mill rates might need to be to create an offset to adjust off of these increased values. But there's talk around the country, and there's talk around Alaska, there's a bill now in the state legislature that talks about capping the increase in values by 5% in any given year. And that's a novel idea, but the challenge is the government now has established some artificial line for value. And to me, that's a little bit scary. I would rather chase a market and try to get to that because that actually exists. And there's actual sales data to support that. This notion that we would cap it because we don't want to see those increases, to me, is just indicative of, I'm going to say this and I'm not suggesting it's you, of politicians that don't want to use the mill rate to set the taxes. That's the way it was intended. If you start creating variables on both sides of that equation, it's going to get tough to reconcile, and it puts us in a very bad spot trying to defend value. And so all we're trying to do is move that, but move it in a way that's not trying to increase land values all in 1 year, because that would be absurd. And so what this does is we're going to trend it 15% this year. I don't know what we're going to do next year yet. They're going to go out, study another area. We're going to have 2 study areas of data in December of this year. And we'll be able to reevaluate what trending we might want to do, because we're not going to have enough of land models to move everything, right? But we're going to be making progress. And that's what we wanted to communicate. So if you're getting calls and people are seeing a 15% increase and asking questions, they're still going to be remarkably below market value. We're still going to be probably somewhere around 60% of market value at best. It's likely going to be less than that. And so that's why we wanted to have this conversation publicly, because if we know there's a problem there and we just choose to do nothing about it, that's going to become more of a problem down the line, because right now values haven't moved at all in the past couple of years. And that's not going to create more equity with people that have homes on land.
And I appreciate that. And I guess I'll say this last thing and then I'll pass. There is some thought and some fellow residents, they've lived in their home for 20 years. And when they bought their home on 10 acres, they paid $150,000 or $200,000, and now it's valued at over $1 million. And so their home's paid off. They're paying property taxes at $1 million or more. So how is that equitable? How is that fair? So that's one thing I would like addressed as well going into this idea, is now we have people that have been in their homes for 20, 30 years, and their property tax assessment is continuing to go up when they've already paid for it. What they paid for it, the value at the time, hasn't increased because they haven't sold. So thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think the challenge is, through the mayor, I think the challenge to that is the issue isn't one of inequity. The issue is one of, I don't like property taxes, and I don't think that's a fair way to collect taxes. But that's a different conversation than a appraised value. That's the problem that they get stuck in, is they're just doing what state law tells them to do. And it's not perfect, right? Mr. Fonoff mentioned a couple situations, and we're always working to rectify that. But that challenge of Is it affordable? Is this the right thing to do? I mean, that's why we have senior and disabled vet exemptions. That's why there's farm deferments. Like, there's already been a series of, exemptions that are made available to folks to try to reconcile that. But the larger issue of disdain for property taxes isn't an assessment issue. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It's a different problem. What we're going to need to do next, under our current system, which is following state law and a borough with the school district that's built on property taxes, is to work to try to figure out how to use that lever called mill rates and offset these increased values in terms of what people actually get when they get a tax bill later this year. The challenge is most people don't really understand that process. They see a number, they start freaking out. But the reality is there's more work to do. And I will say this, I think this assembly has got it figured out. You're asking the right questions when we get to the budget, because you're not asking about what the mill rate is. That's not the right question. What you're asking is, what's the tax impact? That's what really matters. But most, I'll just say it, I think there are a lot of politicians out there that don't want to talk about that, because if you bring the mill rate down and values change, you might have to raise the mill rate. No politician wants to raise mill rates, right? And so there's a reluctance to lower mill rates, it seems. We've been lowering mill rates for 5 years in a row. You have. 4? Well, I mean, I think, yeah, that's been happening, and those are your decisions. So what we have to figure out is, how much do we lower it, and what is the tax that we need to generate to support services? That's what Shine and I will, and a whole bunch of staff, directors, will be working on the next 3 months. And we'll bring that to you in April to have that conversation. And I've said this to a couple assembly members in different conversations where it's just been different meetings, is it is not lost on me that you all want to see a minimal tax impact. And we are going to work hard to bring you that. But I can't tell you exactly what it is right now, because I don't know. I just know what we need to do, and Shine and I've talked about a strategy that gets us there. And I think I'm pretty confident. She's pretty confident. Mainly I'm confident because she's confident. We've talked about it. And I think we're going to be able to do that. But we just need a little bit more time to bring that forward, get everything packaged, and that work is already occurring. What he has to do is follow the state statute timeline to get notices out, and to make sure that we are as close as reasonably possible January 1st, because that's what state law tells us to do.
Assembly members Nowers, did you still have a question?
I did have a question on that issue. I think we've talked about diversifying our tax base, fuel tax, which voters rejected, sales tax, gravel tax. Basically, there's no tax anybody likes except the other guy pays. And so we are where we are on that and trying to thread our ways through that. I did have a question on page 5. You listed, page 3. You listed condominium declarations, and it went from 8 in 2024 to 19 in 2025. Are those something we've talked about called condo plats?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Those are essentially don't go through the planning process.
Okay, and I know we've had discussions about those in relation to, they do not go through the same land use rules that any other subdivision would go through. Could you get us and send to the assembly information on how many acres we are talking about? Because we have.
I certainly can.
Okay, that was because I know we're going from 8 to 19, but I have no sense if that's. I know there's a rather large one in Talkeetna, but I don't have a sense of the acreage, so if that's possible. And then I just had one other question, sort of similar to Mr. Gamble's, the exemptions for multifamily. What category? There's about 100 million, a little bit less in exemptions. What kinds of multifamily developments are falling under an exemption?
There's the low income tax housing credit program.
Okay.
And there's various other programs, low income housing programs. And those are the exemptions that they fall under. There's mostly low income housing. I can give you a greater picture, more information later. I know a lot of it's on our website.
I just thought those were federal programs. If you're talking about like the 8A or the low income, it was a federal subsidy, but I didn't know there was also a borough exemption for property on those. If I'm thinking of the same program.
We have payment in lieu of taxes, I think, also for some of the native corporations for low incomers. I'm not
Okay.
too good on that. I could get back with you on
Yeah.
a lot more detail.
If you can just send it with the same information to the assembly.
And I know a lot of it's on our website. All those exemptions are on the website. But I will certainly get back with you with a more detailed explanation of various.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that with the condo information as well.
Okay. Further questions, comments from assembly people? Assembly person Sumner?
Yeah, quote was, I was reminded of a quote was during this discussion, you know, don't tax you, don't tax me, tax the guy behind the tree. You know, no one wants to pay taxes. They'd rather the services come from taxes someone else pays, you know, right? But I would also like to point out that we have been lowering the tax, the mill rate, but we also passed a tax cap this last year, guys, a property tax cap. So I had a question about when you do make, when people file appeals, do you accept brokers' opinions of value to substantiate appeals?
I didn't quite catch that.
Do you accept brokers' opinions of value?
Yes, we look at anything that's given to us. They give us a broker's opinion of value. We'll look at it and evaluate it. You know, it's our job, just because somebody gives you something, not to say, okay, this is from a broker, this is from a fee appraiser. We have to analyze it to the best of our ability. If we would agree with it, it gets changed. On the other hand, if we disagree with it, we'll say why, and we'll provide data that supports our position. But it's not, you know, we definitely look at everything everybody gives us in regards to value, including brokers' opinions of value.
Thank you.
Assembly person Bowles, did you have a question again? No, okay. So is that who that's supposed to be? Okay, all right. Did everybody get their questions asked and answered? Okay. Thank you, sir. did
Thank you,
very
ma'am.
well. Okay, do you have anything further on your report, sir? Okay. Mr. Attorney, do you have a report for the assembly?
I just want to thank former Assemblymember Culligan for coming out. You know, I worked with 6 years with Assemblymember Ron Arvin, and former Assemblymember Arvin and former Assemblymember Culligan were actually in the room in Washington, D.C. with the head of FTA way back in 2012 when we began our saga with the ferry. And when they initially told us, no, you owe us 12.3 million, and that's what we want, that's what we want, that's what we want. The strategy back then was to get that number down as far as we could get it and then spread it out over years. And as you saw, I've emailed you all the letter. The payment plan was approved by the FTA, and so we're going to enter into that repayment plan and move forward. So that's my only report.
Madam Clerk, reports?
The clerk's report is in your red folder, and we do have some upcoming meetings through January through March is listed on here. And also administration is requesting the budget meeting dates be scheduled, so I'm just gonna rattle them out here, you guys. There's 7 of them. April 9th, Thursday, 10 a.m. for budget presentations. April 23rd, Thursday, public hearing for the budget. April 28th, Tuesday, public hearing for the budget. April 30th, Thursday, a public hearing for the budget, and then 3 deliberations meetings, not meaning you have to use all 3, but we do schedule 3. Thursday, May 7th, Tuesday, May 12th, and Thursday, May 14th. And all of the public hearing and deliberations meetings are at 6 p.m.
Questions? Anybody? Okay. All righty. The next item on our agenda is citizens and other correspondence. Are there any comments on the citizens and other correspondence? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Madam Clerk, IMs.
IM 26005, reporting conclusion of contract number 24114B with Otna Construction and Primary Products LLC for a total contract amount of $2,769,159.17 for the Lakes Boulevard Upgrade Project.
Are there any comments on the IMs? Hearing none, and they are presented. Now we are at audience participation. Do we have a sign-up sheet? Oh, she already has it here. Good deal. Okay. So, Jackie, audience participation, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Assembly members. My name is Jackie Goforth. I want you to know that I do not trust anyone anymore unless they give me documentation. The lady who came here and said that 56 books came out of the school libraries and 56 books came back in, that was a lie. The lady who said that the money that came from the lawsuit was paid to the people, and no, it wasn't, it was paid to the lawyers, that was a lie. The lady that said in December that 10 books were pulled from the school district before they ever met, I have the information from the school board that that was a lie. Now what I'm handing you is what's been happening with your community development department. There's a potential usurpation of chairman role being done without authority or notification. So unless properly legally recognized and signed documentation exists to prove otherwise, the chairperson of a board is responsible for maintaining and establishing quorum, and it is done at a meeting, not 4 days before. Now, I want to tell you there's been an attempt made for the last year and a half to not only undermine the LCAC, but it's being used now on the library board. And the way it's done is made up rules. You make up rules and then you promulgate them. You announce them as though they're true. Okay? And then you add some duties and forms that are also made up that make no sense. Like if you were at the LCAC, one of the questions they had to answer was, what condition is the book in? They had to answer like 15 questions. They were given brand new books. What condition do you think it was in? And when they asked, why do we have to answer these questions, they were told, because the Community Development Department says so. There's no documentation provided for that. Now, I sent 4 information requests in because they canceled the library board meeting 5 days, well, 4 days, 4 days before it was supposed to take place for lack of quorum. You know why? Because they had changed the procedure to you had to call in by Thursday at noon. But they forgot to tell everybody. And then when they send out the agenda, it has all these pages in there that are a defense of the books. See, the library board considers which books to question and pull out. And they've pulled out very few, as you know, 2, 3. Well, somebody has been adding 20 pages into the agenda of a defense of those books. And that's part of the things that they're supposed to pull out and review. And those brand new members didn't even know they were supposed to call by noon on Thursday. In fact, one member, when he called and asked, why on earth didn't this get notified? She said, well, we sent it on email. And he said, well, what if somebody's not on email? So one of my FOIAs is, well, there's 4 of them. How can you make somebody responsible for something and cancel a quorum if you're not even the chairperson? And if you didn't notify them? Your library board is not incompetent. They're not being given the information, and it's being hidden how they're altering it. And I have turned in another request. You won't see it until I get it completely finalized with an attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Assembly members. For the record, my name is David Wilson. Today I'm representing my employer, the Matsuo Health Foundation. Madam Clerk has helped me pass out to you information about our scholarships. It is scholarship season for a lot of entities. Our scholarship program just to give you a few numbers, was given over about $3 million out last year. About 2.6 is in scholarships. We also do vocational opportunities, and we also do other programs to help with training and other opportunities for folks in the health, ILOUD health programs, and various information as well that the clerk is passing out for folks. And this all information for the public is also available on our website, healthymatsu.org. And applications are due March 5th. And just want to give folks, and if you need more information or just want to come check what type of information's out there, we are hosting 4, which we have 3 left, are scholarship information sessions at the Matsu Health Foundation off of Cruzy and Bogard, from 4 to 6 p.m. on January 22nd, this Thursday, February 5th, and February 19th. So you and your little ones, or not so little ones, folks who are getting ready to go to school, can come by the Health Foundation's office, and meals provided, and learn a little bit more information about the programs and how to qualify and the process. So we try to make it as easy as possible with as much technical assistance as possible, so folks in the Matsu can try to move economic mobility and have the opportunities to better themselves and their family outcomes through the scholarships opportunities and vocational opportunities and our professional development opportunities as well. So if you have any more questions, feel free to contact me, and I'll be back at another date and time to talk a little bit more about our community needs assessments. That's also on our website, and we can give a little bit more preview of that at your next meeting. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, Stephen Edwards?
Stephen Edwards, EDWARDS. So 19 years, that's the amount of time I've been a volunteer on the road boards. And in that time, I've never submitted a request for any reimbursement of mileage or any other request. I just hold meetings and engage with the public and conduct business for the borough residents. And so I've been over 60 years in Alaska, over 30 in the borough. And I put in my application for renewal, and around Christmas time, I learned that I've been fired by Ron Bernier, terminated from my position without cause, as far as I know, because I've never heard a reason. So I think back to what I've done. I've 20-some resolutions drafted on my computer, countless minutes and engagement with the public. Minutes after my meetings that were advertised, typed, 1 page, scanned to the clerk's office so they don't have to mess around with them too much to file them. So what is the reason? There's 2 disagreements that I can think of that had anything to do with road, and in both occasions, he used his authority to override me, and so I moved on. I got lots of roads, lots of things to do. So I just worked with the new procedure. And yet, I'm still terminated. So could there be a more insidious reason? Could it be because I've stood before this body and spoke on other issues, nothing to do with roads, that were in opposition to things that Ron supported? I feel like I should be able to do that without affecting my road board position. So it's too late for me, but I want to say 2 things as a message. There's some of you support road boards, value the input, and I appreciate that. We hear you. We know who you are. We love that, the engagement with the assembly. But for all of you, that if the message is going to be that you need to be entirely in lockstep on every position, not even regarding the board, other items, in lockstep with your assembly person, or you're going to be terminated, is that really the message we want to send to our volunteers? I submit that it's not. I would like to think that our volunteers that are working on all these boards, not just road boards, would like to feel that they can speak their mind on other subjects, debate things with their assembly person, and not have retaliation. So that's my message. So think about whether that's the message we want to send. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the people that signed up. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to testify or give the assembly some information? Do we have somebody? We do have? Okay. Who is ever online, please?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Assembly. My name is Kathy Kaiser. There have been some nasty rumors flying around that all Borough Friends groups influence library operations, have special privileges, and set up displays in the library. This is simply not true, at least for the Friends of the Sutton Library. Our primary objective is to raise funds for our library based on the needs that our librarian expresses to us. I just wanted to clear the air as far as those rumors are concerned. Also, I want to address how the library board has now become a censorship board. They didn't meet in January due to lack of quorum. They don't have a chairperson. And yet each member was contacted to see if there were any materials on the library materials list for this month that they would like to flag. The new Sutton representative on the library board, Julie Endel, took that opportunity to flag 2 books that were meant for the adult section of the Sutton Public Library. For those of you who don't frequent public libraries, let me explain to you how the collections are set up. The children's, young adults, and adult sections are in different parts of the library. When a book is labeled as adult, that does not equate to how you might think of movies. There are no X-rated books in the adult section. They are simply books that were not written specifically for children's or young adult audiences. The adult section is divided into fiction and nonfiction. The fiction section is subdivided by romance, science fiction, mystery, and so on. The nonfiction section is divided into religion, craft, cooking, etc. I can't remember the last time that I read an adult fiction book in any subgenre that didn't have sex in it somewhere. It's there. It's always been there. When our library board's only responsibility is to censor what our librarians want to order for their communities, which is exactly what happened in January, well, that's just wrong. If they can't be bothered to meet and listen to public opinion, they shouldn't be allowed to censor books. The only books that they are currently censoring are adult books, which is precisely why the LCAC disbanded. So what's going on? It's mighty coincidental that just when the library board gets stacked with censorship advocates, not library advocates, that the Library Citizens Advisory Committee disbanded and turned over its responsibilities to the library board, which currently has 2 members who were previously on the LCAC. The entire reason that the LCAC disbanded was because they didn't want to review adult books. However, they were required to read them. Now the library board gets to restrict books from even being ordered without ever having to even lay hands on a book or go into a public library. I'd be interested to know when the last time was that the new library board members went to their local public library in the community that they are supposedly representing. Perhaps they're like Chad Scott, who doesn't even have a library card. He stated on record that public libraries don't have any books that he wants to read. Is that really who you want serving on your library board? Would you want somebody on the labor relations board who had never held a job? Would you want someone on the sewer and water board who had never had indoor plumbing? Censorship is not only unethical, it's unconstitutional, and for this assembly to let it continue is unforgivable.
Thank you. Anybody else online? No? One last chance for anyone here that would like to give some testimony to the assembly. Okay, seeing no one, then we'll close audience participation. Madam Clerk.
For public hearing, Resolution 26001, a resolution approving an application to relocate a beverage dispensary license from an area outside the city limits in the borough to a location within the city of Wasilla. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. And John, you've signed up.
Thank you. My name is John Klaperich, Klapperich. Thank you for engaging with your constituents. You look, you listen, and you respond. And as a past Matsu Borough Planning Commission chairman, I understand the commitment of becoming learned on everything you vote on, as per the 200-page amendment that's in there for this resolution. So I'm here to highly encourage you to unanimously approve this transfer. It's a rare win-win-win-win. Number one, City of Wasilla gets more sales tax, they can do more of their own laundry. They don't need to come to you. Number two, it's Matsu Borough employment, additional people employed. Number three, it allows the applicant to increase his property and provide more property tax to the borough. And number three, it really is attuned to the comp plan 2045 for downtown Wasilla. What does that need to look like in 25 years? More Class A entertainment opportunities. And it's in this 200-page, 8-month process, it's been an extensive public process. I testified in front of the State of Alaska, AMCO, in front of the City of Wasilla, City Council, in front of the borough, all ending up with unanimous approval. The great work Rick Benedict has said, it meets the muster of meeting everyone's needs. And as for parking, there was someone that said, oh my gosh, the City of Wasilla doesn't have any on-street parking downtown Wasilla. The last thing we want is more people coming downtown Wasilla. This is a rare opportunity where there's 5 public parking lots within 100 yards of this establishment. Number one, the current parking lot meets the fire marshal's planning code. The applicant has bought another city lot, paved, lighted, adjacent to it. Across the street, which is now across from Crazy Moose, another free city parking lot. Across another parking lot across from the Crazy Tap, which closed indefinitely. And then you've got another parking lot where the Wasilla Fire Department used to be. So there's plenty of parking. We'll never need on-site parking. And you have an applicant that is a 50-year business person, 15 years in the alcohol beverage with 0 infractions. And it's just a situation where I don't believe there is any reason why this shouldn't be unanimously approved and congratulated that some private business owner wants to take the risk and employ more people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to testify? And this testimony is restricted to the resolution 26-001. Anyone else? Do you have nobody in line? Okay, so I'll go ahead and close public hearing. Assemblyperson Sumner,
I move to adopt resolution 26001.
do you want to speak to it, or?
I mean, I would just say that, I mean, in your packet, as I'm sure you guys read, the Wasilla City Council approved this. It's taking a liquor license from Willow Trading Station, or Trading Post, which closed, and adding it onto an establishment that already has a liquor license, a beer and wine liquor license, I believe. So, I mean, I think it's like the public comment we heard, it's a win-win-win. It's good for commerce in Wasilla. It's not like there's going to be extra liquor being consumed when it's closing one liquor establishment and adding on to the liquor license of another one.
Okay. Any further testimony? Yes, Assemblyperson Bowles.
So I was reading this, and outside of the issue of it being alcohol related, but I'm curious why we even have law that somebody has to ask permission to sell somebody else a license. So I think that we do need to pass this. I don't think the government should interfere in private business. I think we should be promoting private business. Yes, this type of business might be not desirable for some people, but we, as an assembly, should be promoting commerce in our borough and stepping out of the way. Thank you.
Further discussion by the Assemblyperson Fauna or Gamble? Either one.
A question to, I guess, Attorney, I remember previously, a couple years ago, we transferred, something similar happened, and I wanted to know, I remember briefly that whatever is transferred outside of the city into the city, it can never go back. What is the logistic and what's the reason for that, and why is it does not reflect what Michael Bowles was saying, why it's not freely nilly just moved between the private entities?
Yeah, it's all a function of state law. A few years ago, I think it was 3 years ago now, maybe 2, there was a big rewrite to the Title IV alcohol. And the borough, the manager and I took at Assembly direction serious efforts to get some major changes to the alcohol laws that were initially put into the bill, but then stripped out when it was voted for on the Senate floor. It's the state law. You know, the alcohol laws in Alaska are based on population. And so when you have X many number of people live there, you get so many liquor licenses, you know, not just beer and wine, but, you know, hard alcohol licenses, you know, full service dispensary licenses. And so in the Mat-Su borough, we're all at capacity. The borough is at capacity for its population. The cities are at capacity for their populations. In about 2006 or 2007, maybe 2008, a law was passed. It's a discretionary law that says, well, if you don't have any available, you can move one from the borough into the cities. And you're absolutely right. This happened a couple years ago. And once it moves into the city, it's in the cities. And you can't move it back out of the city because the state law mechanism is a one-way mechanism. I don't know, there was a state law priority a couple years ago again to have that be reciprocal, so that once they're brought into cities, or if there's extra in a city, or somebody wants to move it outside or sell it outside the city. But I don't think that ever passed. I think there was a bill introduced 2 years ago, and then it died in committee or just didn't go anywhere. I don't recall exactly. I could be thinking of a phantom bill even, I don't know. But it is purely a function of state law. And so the reason they have local governing body consent is, it's just local control. It's an issue of, you know, the Mat-Su borough saying, yes, you know, whoever the business owner is can take an alcohol license, buy it from outside. I do remember the very first person to avail himself of it was Evangelos, because we called it the Evangelo bill back then. And so I believe the current, and I'd have to look it up, I'm shooting from the hip here. I believe the current law allows for 3 transfers every 10 years. And so, does it say that in there? Okay. So it's purely a function of the way the state laws are written, Title IV.
So I guess if it's local control and kind of intended for that, but at the same time, local controls cannot transfer it back, seems like a thing. So I would like Assembly, I think we would probably support something along the lines to put into our legislative priority. So if it's a local authority, so it goes both ways. I don't think it's related to this specific transaction, but I think if on the other side of another city, another question, what about from one city to another city, or once it's in that city, then it's locked to that city, or it can go to another city that you know of?
I'm pretty sure it's, again, I could get you the full answer to probably like here tonight. I can look up the state statute. I'm pretty sure it's stuck. I'm pretty sure it's in that city. So once an alcohol license moves into Wasilla, it stays in the city of Wasilla.
Yeah, I would love to see the support from Assembly before we approve this, that we at least petition our legislature to, so that there is flexibility, that the licenses can go both directions, because, and having it limited with only 3 every 10 years, it seems like 1 every 3 years, and then I think we moved 1 a couple of years ago, so that for next like 7 years we can only have 1 move in only 1 direction. I just think it's not in the borough's interest to just go in at 1 direction, although I don't even think we should be controlling that. But if it is going 1 direction, there should be, we'd love to see it be able to go the other direction as well. That would be my position.
Mike, go ahead.
So through the mayor to the Assembly, I believe this is already one of your state legislative priorities. I don't know that we have a sponsor for a bill to do it. I think it was a resolution Mr. Gamble sponsored maybe a year, maybe not. I don't see you nod, but to have that change the state law to allow it to transfer back. So I believe it's already there. I don't have my booklet in front of me, but the mayor, I think, confirmed that she thought it was as well. So I believe you've got it. I know right where to look if I can get that, but I believe it's already there. But that, we still got to lobby and find a sponsor at the state level to see if we can move that legislation. So
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
It is on the list.
There's plenty of places to buy alcohol in District 7, and we do not mind moving a liquor license to Wasilla.
Assemblyperson Sumner and
He wants it out, I'll take it.
Assemblyperson Nowers.
Mr. Bowles, I'm going to invite you to meet Mayor Ledford of Wasilla, and she will heartily discuss with you whether there should be regulation or not.
Further discussion. Oh, I'm sorry. Assemblyperson Bowles.
So I agree. I don't know if it needs to be made or kept a legislative priority. I think there's probably other things besides an alcohol license that are more important. But I agree with Assemblymember Fawnoff that if we can pursue this and broaden it so that people can, sell things back and forth, I think that that's probably a wise route to go. So.
Well, we've already discovered it is in our legislative priorities, and that's about all we can do. So, yeah. Unless when you want to go down there or you want to, Assemblyperson Gamble, he'll give us some clues.
Thank you. Got a question for either the manager or staff. Just on the numbers here, it says the Matsu Borough has 65 licenses, and the city of Wasilla has 35. Is there 35 included in our 65, or are they separate?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Nick know? Huh?
So
Does Nick?
I'm pretty sure they're separate.
they're separate?
Because the population limits by state law, let me look at Alex, are they separate? Yeah. We can double check. I'm pretty sure they're separate because the population limits by state law are by municipality. And so because the cities are their own municipality, they have their own population limits.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess when I look at the numbers, I see Wasilla has 35 liquor licenses, Houston has 2, and Palmer has 4. What's going on in Wasilla? What's going on over there? Yeah, and I agree with Assemblymember Fawnoff. I really do. I think, and Assemblymember Bowles, this should be a two-way thing, but it's a state issue. It's not a local issue, and I'll support this, but I've never known the city of Wasilla ever give anything back anyways. Thank you.
Is there any objection, since we discussed everything but the resolution 26-001? Is there any objection to it passing? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then it has passed. Okay.
Ordinance 26002, an ordinance confirming the assessment roll for the Yarrow Road Natural Gas Local Improvement District number 664 and establishing the method of terminating assessments and making refunds to property owners with accompanying ordinance 26003, an ordinance providing for the financing not to exceed $113,105 principal amount of special assessment internal service funds for the Yarrow Road Natural Gas Local Improvement District number 664 and fixing details of said bonds. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. We do have a sign-up sheet. And so Carrie, is there a Carrie here? Okay. If you'll come forth and give us your testimony, please. Pull the mic down close to you and state your name, and then go ahead and give us your
My name is
opinion.
Carrie Agri,
Okay.
and this has to do with the gas line, correct? Yeah? It said, we've answered no from the start of this gas line, and I attended the July 15th meeting to learn that it already passed, and at that point, I felt like I was talking to a wall because there was nothing I could say. And no one ever asked what our expenses were if we could afford this. You have to apply when you want to get a loan or pay for things on time. You have to show proof of income and for your ability to pay it back. We own 2 lots. That's over $16,000 that all of a sudden we have to pay. I retired last year. My husband's going to retire this year. And this was not planned for us. Well, I don't even know how we're going to pay it. And then I feel like we were scammed because the 2 people that petitioned this went house to house to house. He knew where to start it and where he needed to end it. Had he gone past where he went, the last 3 houses on that road would have said no. Yeah, and then he says, well, Brian, come over and talk to us. And I just don't want you guys to be mad. We did it this way so that nobody could come in later and hook up to the gas line on our dime. He has no problem taking the dime out of our pockets so that he can get what he wants out of this. And then there's a big deal about all the, down the road, people are putting boulders and tree stumps and whatever to keep the snow machiners and motorcycles go 90 miles an hour. They just rip back and forth across our driveways. I mean, what if my grandkids are out there riding their bikes? Now I guess I can't let them ride down down the driveway anymore. And that easement's on both sides of the road. So both sides of the road, if people have to remove that stuff, they need to go down to Norman Street, come all the way up to the end of Yarrow, and start down there to have people move objects out of the line, the assessment line or whatever. And our driveways. I have 3 driveways coming into our property, and we paid to have those driveways put in with new material and new bedding and compacting and road paper. They're all screwed up. Even before winter, coming in and out of the driveway, it's got a dip. They put no new bedding down, no new material. So I about guarantee you when winter's over, it's going to be worse. Because it wasn't done correctly, it was done in a hurry. Yeah. So, and also, if you're going to, from what I understand is motorized vehicles can't go up and down that road. We need to put signs up or speed limits or something to help us be able to control the craziness that these kids do up there. It's terrible. Thank you.
Thank you. And what is Holiday? Lisa Holiday? All right.
Hi there. My name is Alicia Holiday, and I also am voicing my objections to the LID for the NSTAR gas pipeline that was completed 2025 late summer on Yarrow Road. I feel this LID process is unfair to property owners who didn't ask for this gas line, who can't afford it, and majority are not now are required to subsidize other property owners. The boundaries were selected and handpicked by the petitioners going door to door, informing property owners of this LID and explaining how beneficial it would be, even if you don't have the money to pay for it. The information gathered helped them select the boundaries that would benefit them the most. When the petitioner was trying to sway me in our conversation, I asked why he didn't include more people since the end of the road is so close to my house. The neighbors would have voted overwhelmingly no, and this LID would have been a big waste of his time. I feel that this is unjust and definitely not a fair process. It seems reasonable that neighbors who want this gas line brought in should be the ones to pay for it, not the folks it bypasses. It actually makes no sense at all to make people pay for this loan along with interest, while the no votes will still be cutting, splitting, and stacking wood to heat our houses and helping to pay for the neighbors' heat down the road who wanted the pipeline. Let me see. This is what we can afford, and we chose to live in this area for the affordability and the freedom. And the hardship of coming up with the funds will be difficult as I am retired and on a limited budget. I started a small farm 4 years ago, and this most likely will end as I can't afford the feed and also this gas line. The funny thing is, these animals actually benefit me with the eggs and meat, and this pipeline does not. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to? There's 2 ordinances. One is 26002 and one is 26003. Anyone else that would like to testify on either one of these ordinances? Do we have anybody online, sir? No. Okay, one last chance. Okay, so go ahead and close the public hearing. Assemblyperson Bowles?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I've been thinking about this. I move to adopt ordinance 25-002 and ordinance 26-003 and request a staff report.
Okay, now you can speak to it if you'd like to.
Yes, first step.
Oh, he wants staff report. Okay.
I think he wants to know how the process.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Bowles, Cheyenne Hindle Finance Director. So this is an LID that was formed in July. The Assembly approved the formation of this LID. The property owners voted 67% for the LID, 33% against the LID. So it was more than the 51% that was required, and it passed.
Okay. Do you have some questions as staff? You okay?
So I do. So I've received multiple fellow residents reach out in opposition to this. I do understand that this was done in a manner, this was done before I was on the assembly, and this was started allegedly in a manner that wasn't involving all of the property owners in the area. And I do understand that some of the property owners feel like they were brought into this, and now they're footing a bill for something they didn't want, an $8,000 bill. And so I would like to at least postpone this if possible, 90 days, so that I can go down to Yarrow and speak to the property owners individually and actually get an assessment before I move this.
Can we have the staff address the fact they don't have to have 100% of the property owners in order to do it? And this work has already been done. So we've already paid NSTAR for this money. You understand that, sir?
I do understand that.
Okay, all righty. And how many do you have with you? How many people did sign, et cetera? Go
Who
ahead.
signed the original petition? And just so you know, Assemblymember Bowles, when LIDs are formed, people, whoever comes in, the petitioner comes in, they can choose to include all the properties in the area, or they can do a non-contiguous LID. This property owner chose to set the boundaries and include everybody in the LID. That's their option when they come in.
So not being on the assembly in July, and maybe I don't fully understand, but is there a way for these property owners that do not want this to exempt out and not have to pay?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Bowles, at the time that it was formed, it would have needed to be formed as a non-contiguous LID, where the petitioner comes in and selects the specific properties he wants included into it. And that specific LID requires 100% approval. If he chooses to do the other way where he encompasses just the mapped in area, then it's just majority vote.
Thank you. And that's where I'm kind of running into the issue is I have had quite a few people reach out now, and with the two people tonight and then a couple other people via email. So there's concern. And so this happened before I was on the assembly. Since I'm now the assembly person, would like a 90-day postponement so that I can gather more information if that's possible.
So the 90-day, I'm assuming you mean April 21st. Okay.
Okay. So we have before, and you're doing both of the ordinances? Or just want them, okay. So we have before you a motion to postpone until April, what, 21st? Okay. So the discussion is on the motion to postpone. Okay. Person phone up.
We previously had somewhat similar in the past where after the work is completed and we need to pay, the people come in opposition. However, I was here during July and that opposition did not come through. And that was the time. So this is just a procedural, I guess, thing that we do to do what we already committed. Enough signatures have been collected, so I don't think it's talking to neighbors. It won't change anything. So I will not be supporting the postpone because this is just a procedure that we need to close this case. There was people had the option to vote, and they collected a right amount of votes, well, a lot more than what was required. So I think that it will not change. They're not going to go and dig the line and take it away. And how it was structured, that's how it was followed. So that's why I do not, I don't think it's a good idea to set the precedent for future that after the work's been completed, we can kind of start creating the pressure and, pushing assembly member a certain way to say, push back on it. So that's my reasoning for not going further with that.
Assemblyperson Sumner?
Yeah, I mean, I think the letter of the law was followed. The required votes were established. The gas line was put in. The money was spent. Now it's time to establish the LID to pay for it. I mean, the time to stop this LID from happening would have been back in July. So, I mean, I'm not going to support postponement. As Mr. Farnoff said, I also agree that it would set a very bad precedent. If you have a problem with the LID process, then we should, we could change the code. Would be the option.
Okay. Assemblyperson McKee, do you have your lights on?
Just briefly, I agree with Dimitri and Max. These are things that come up periodically, and if they follow the process, that's pretty much all you can ask them to do. I sometimes noticed on lake management plans, which are similar in the process, that we have changed that minutely. But once this thing goes, it's really too late. The people have truly spoken. I must say, if I was not one of the people who voted for it, I sure in the heck wouldn't want to have to be made to pay it. So I have a couple questions. What happens to a person who really doesn't want it? So don't come into my yard. I don't want it. I'll never want it. I like my outhouse or whatever it is.
Staff, can you answer?
Through the mayor to Assembly Member McKee, once it's approved by the Assembly to be constructed, Instar goes ahead and does the work in the easement. So it's not going through your yard, it's going through the right of way on that property.
So you have to be responsible for it. And if you're not and you don't pay it, then they can take your house.
If you do not pay, then it goes through the foreclosure process.
I've heard so many times, I want to do what I want to do on my own property, but geez Louise, it kind of goes away when we're talking about a process like this, doesn't it? And that's a big deal. That's a lot of money. And like the lady who said she had two lots, maybe we ought to talk to them one of these days about things like that. Is there also some things, somebody told me something about, but if somebody doesn't vote for it, then they can opt in later and pay a lower price, and is that?
If after the gas line is constructed and somebody that is outside of the LID hooks into the gas line where it ends, there's what's called a free main allowance, and the Instar charges them, and I don't know what the amount is right now, they charge them a price to hook in, yes.
Okay. Here, Mike go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say through the mayor. So the assembly sets a threshold for approval. I believe it's set at 51%. If you didn't want this to happen, you could set it at 100%. But that would be, now Nick's going to weigh in.
So to be clear.
But you're probably not going to be in the LID
None
business.
of this happens unless the assembly votes yes back in July. So when we're talking about approval, that just means to present it to the assembly. That does not mean the assembly is forced to vote for this back in July. So when everybody's talking about 50% approval, they mean the petition to get heard in front of the assembly.
And then the ballots.
And then they vote. Right.
So it was still the assembly vote that confirmed this back in July.
Yeah, my point was you could have a higher threshold for approval through the petitioning and balloting process, but that's established by code.
Deputy Mayor and then Assembly Person Hours.
Okay, when I first got on the assembly, I had something similar up in Houston where I had 3 people that didn't want gas. Gas line went by their house. They didn't even have gas appliances, heated with wood, was never gonna hook onto the gas, but yet they were gonna get, at that time, I think it was 7,000 or something like that charged. And well, we need to get this changed to where, they can put the gas in, whoever voted yes can pay for it. And the people that didn't, they don't have, because if you wait a certain amount of time, and I believe it's 3 years, you get to hook onto the gas line for free. So you can have all your neighbors pay out, get the line there, and then if you wait 3 years, you can get it for free. Well, I want to take and sponsor something with somebody to where it doesn't matter if it's 3 years or 10 years or whatever, whoever hooks on after this line was brought in, and I know you have to take it up with MEA.
No, the RCA, the Regulatory Commission of Alaska, is the one who sets that rule. So if a gas line exists anywhere and you want to hook up to it, the RCA determines whether you pay for it or not. This is constructing a new section of line, and we are a second-class borough. We don't have the power to regulate the gas company or tell them what they charge people. It's the RCA that has set that rule for 3 years, and we've looked into this because some of the members have asked for it before. We cannot be the ones to say, well, we're going to make it 20 years that if you hook up, you're going to then give a refund back to the people who paid to put this in. It's the RCA that does that.
Okay, well, the last time
Okay.
this came up, I was told we have to go talk it over with ME.
Okay, we're on the motion to postpone, okay?
I vote
So
no.
can we keep the Assembly Person Hours on the motion to postpone?
Yes, couple questions pertinent to my vote on that. In looking at the ballot tally for this, when it was passed, I see the number of ballots mailed listed as 14, the number marked yes, 12, and the number marked no, 4. So those numbers don't add up.
Through the assembly to assembly, or through the mayor to assembly member hours. The assembly passed or changed the code for LIDs that said we only count returned ballots. So in the past, prior to that change in code, if a person did not return their ballots, they were automatically counted as no ballots. And I can't remember exact date that the assembly changed that code, but they changed that code. So we only count returned ballots when we're determining if an LID passes.
So this has the number of returned ballots, yeses and nos, at 16, but only 14 ballots were mailed out.
No, there was 12 ballots that were returned. Eight were yes, 4 were no.
Okay, that's not what the legislation says when we reviewed it. I went back and pulled it from the site. So it says that 14 were mailed, 12 were yes, and 4 were no.
There are
but-
only 14 parcels in this LID.
Okay. Aside from that, the first repayment for this gas line that has been installed would be April? September of this year, okay. And to clarify, $8,000 is owned, but that's spread out over 20 years.
That is spread out over 10 years.
10 years.
With 2 payments annually.
Okay, so about $800 a year. So if we postpone this, then, and it comes back and we pass it in 90 days, is there any fiscal impact for the borough? Or because we fronted the money for this from our loan fund, is there any fiscal?
Through the mayor to assembly member hours, there is no fiscal impact because we have already paid Instar.
Okay, and we would make the first payment as
And the
long as
first payment would still be due in September.
Okay, so thank you. So speaking to the postponement, I would like to support the assembly member who asked for it. I do not see a way to not pass this in the end, but because it's your district and because you want to take some time with it, I do not want to give people in the district any false hope because the rules are the rules. But I will support you in postponing because it will allow you to take a look at it and understand it fully and feel comfortable with the vote.
Okay, I guess there is an objection then, so I don't know. Do you have further discussion on the motion to postpone? Okay.
Thank you, Assemblymember Nowers. So yes, so that's what I'm asking for is, like I said, I've had people reach out. So where I'm coming from is, it wasn't a gas line, but there was a situation in my area where there was something being moved and, you know, there was allegedly mailers that were sent and things like that. And a lot of us did not receive mailers. A lot of us were not informed about something that was moving forward. And so I'm not saying that that didn't happen. What I'm saying is I've been informed that that didn't happen and that people didn't feel like they were well informed and that people felt like they were potentially manipulated or not given all of the information on this. So what I would like to do is attend a community council meeting, go door to door, ask the people that live on Yarrow, my fellow residents in District 1, what's going on with this. And if we still have to pass it in April, we still have to pass it in April. But at least that would give me a better understanding of what's going on. And maybe we can figure this out. I don't feel comfortable moving this forward with the idea that fellow residents weren't informed about something and now they're paying $8,000.
Okay, Assemblyperson Fana.
I'm gonna stick with my position to oppose that postponement because it gives them false hope, like Ms. Nauer said. It is, time and place was for it. Now that I learned the time that it takes for repayment, it is a reasonable, it's not lump sum. That's the whole point of LID. And it wouldn't change the result whether they say they haven't, because I think we have proper receipts, certified mail and all that, everything was done according to law, so I don't want to set the bad precedent. So that's my reason for it.
Assemblyperson McKee.
I agree with that. I don't support postponing it because if every time an issue came up that was in, and not necessarily, no disrespect, Mike, in our district that we don't know something about because we weren't there, well, you weren't there. So that really wasn't your responsibility. Now your responsibility is to look at what's been presented to you and, in my opinion, and vote on what the process is. Did it work right? I will tell you also, and it happens with everything, somebody will always say, I didn't get the mail, whatever that is, you're going to hear that every time. And I think that's just human nature. So I would not support postponing it. I don't like the LID thing I think maybe it should even be a higher percentage. We talked about that with the lake management plans. Because then you've got what's happening now, neighbors against neighbors, just warring because it might be a little bit close. But they did what they needed to do. So that doesn't mean I have to vote for it or not. I don't like it, but I probably will vote for it because that's a process that we have, my opinion.
Okay, Madam Clerk, I think we have an objection to the motion.
We're on the motion to postpone. If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote on postponement. Madam Mayor, it has failed with Assembly Member, things are a little bit wonky. Bernier and Bowles and Nowers in favor.
Okay, so now we are back to the main motion for passage of ordinance 26-002. Oh, okay. And 003, Assemblyperson Bowles.
Okay, and thank you for the opportunity for that. So if I could ask staff just to verify and clarify, regardless, the residents on Yarrow, they're going to have to pay regardless. That there isn't a different way that this can be approached. Is that correct?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Bowles, the way this LID was formed, there is not a way to pull them out at this point. And for further clarification, all of the ballots were sent out certified mail.
Okay, Assemblyperson Campbell, go ahead, please.
I just want to say that I feel for you, Assemblymember Bowles. I went through this twice in my first year as Assemblyperson, and the outcome was exactly like this. Thank you.
Okay, Is there, oh, Assemblyperson Nowers, go ahead.
I just want to say one of the, I think, worst things government can do is use its power to force people to pay for a service they don't want. And I have been long an advocate for a higher percentage. And the borough in the past, the attorney could tell you, it's been 75%, 67%. This is one of the lowest levels. We have had 51%. 51% of your neighbors can tell you got to pay this even if you don't want it and won't use the service. And I really think we should look, and maybe we can talk about trying to raise this to, when you have an important vote, 2/3, 3/4 in there so that we avoid these kind of situations. But I didn't win on the postponement with you, but I'll have to support this because the rules existed at the time and these folks complied with it and the line has been put in.
Assemblyperson Fauna?
I would like to say, although I know that this is part of the procedure, although it's reasonable amount of time, you could potentially petition or try to see if we could, for people to opt out, have a longer term to pay off. I don't know if that's a separate legislation or whatever it is, but can we ask Ms. Shan, is that payment plan is the only option repayment plan, or there is several different that people choose before they commit to it, or how does that work?
Through the mayor to the Assembly member bought off. The payment plan, the 10 years, 2 payments annually is set in code. So they can either pay the full amount, they can pay it off whenever they want. They can pay the full amount immediately with no interest, or they can pay over time with interest.
What kind of interest rates are?
Interest is set for these in code as prime plus 2.
Okay,
So
which is
prime
currently
interest rate. So it looks like we're at 9% interest on this.
Okay, so it's not super high, but it's definitely not low. So yeah, that's the only thing. But people will pay more in interest if you postpone it for further for them repayment plan. So I guess that's just part of it.
Okay. Is there an objection to passing ordinance 26-002 and ordinance 26? Okay, we do have an objection. Okay.
Could I ask a question first?
Yeah, go ahead.
It tells you that if you don't pay twice, so within 60 days or whatever it is, they come take your house, right? Does it have to be that drastic? Does it can't be a little?
Through the mayor to Assembly Member McKee. At December 31st, if you are delinquent, you would go into foreclosure. However, we do not require the full amount to be paid immediately. They get 10 years to pay it. And as long as they're making their payments, they stay out of the foreclosure process.
Which sucks if you can't afford it.
Assemblyperson Sumner, are you objecting or you want to speak?
Oh, I just wanted to say something. I mean, I applaud your efforts, Mr. Bowles. I mean, I really respect that you want to go talk to your constituents and hear what they have to say. And we've heard this LID thing has been a topic of conversation for a very long time. I will say, I mean, in my own experience, having natural gas to a lot versus not having natural gas to a lot, it does add about $10,000 to $15,000 to the value of the lot. So they are getting something for their money. They are getting additional valuation on their property.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, if you go ahead and take in. Okay, Assemblyperson Bowles, go ahead.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. So I have a question for the attorney. Would it be possible to move an amendment or to make an amendment that the payment is only for those that voted in favor of this LID?
Again, the problem is that at this point, no, because the LID was confirmed back in July and the administration was told to go ahead and move forward. So one of the things that happens with an LID is there's a financial analysis done regarding the cost of the improvement broken up about X many lots, And then there's an evaluation done by staff of the assessed value of all of those lots. And there has to be a ratio match in the code. I can walk you through it. And if that doesn't get matched, it has to be put in, the assembly has to know about it. It becomes difficult to go forward if the cost of the LID is grossly disproportionate to the cost of the lot. So when you confirm the roll back in July, it would have been possible to potentially take lots out, direct staff to go reballot and basically reject it and tell them to start over. I mean, that's one of the things that always happens is people come forward, the objectors come forward, and nobody says, well, we're going to say no to this, go start over, because nobody wants to do that. But at this point, because it's all been done, people have to vote on. No, I don't think you can. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud here. I don't think you can now. I think you could have done it back in July. Because it really is critical as to the formation. I think Assemblymember Fanoff put it right, where he's just like, this is just tying up the end. This is just confirming the roll, saying that it's done, and this is what actually everybody's going to pay, because you levy the LID down to the penny. When the assessment came forward, it was an estimate. Now that NSTAR's done the work, we know the full cost, and really you're confirming the LID and assessing it across the properties.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, I think we're ready to vote.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead, oh, everybody is in the room today. If I can get the members to go ahead and vote. Madam Mayor, it passes with Assemblymember Bowles opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Ordinance 26004, an ordinance confirming the assessment rule for the West Raven Circle Natural Gas Local Improvement District Number 669 and establishing the method of terminating assessments and making refunds to property owners, with accompanying ordinance 26005, an ordinance providing for the financing not to exceed $11,663 principal amount of special assessment internal service funds for the West Raven Circle Natural Gas Local Improvement District Number 669 and fixing details of said financing. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Okay, do we have a sign-up sheet? We do not? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 26-004 and 26-005. Cindy, we do not have a sign-up sheet. If anybody would like to testify at this time, it needs to pertain to these two ordinances. Okay. We have anybody online? No? Okay. Ready? I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance 26-004 and ordinance 26-005. And I have a question.
You want to speak to it?
Yeah. So this is one of those LIDs that went through my first year on the assembly. And so for the attorney, hey, Nick, so these 3 lots are joining into that Echo Lake LID that was established 2 years ago. So will this lower the cost for everybody by them joining into this the already existing LID?
I thought this was a new LID. This was an extension of the line that was already
Right.
there.
Right.
to
Okay,
pay
so
for
it's
the-
completely separate LID, and so even though it's tying into the one that was done 2 years ago, it's completely separate.
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Gattle, the way LIDs work is the LIDs form, created, mapped area, the cost for that area is what's allocated. Then if somebody comes in and wants to form a new LID to hook into the end of the previous LID, which is what happens, is how we extend the gas lines. This new area is, the cost is costed out, not the whole line previous to it. Because where do you stop the whole line? We start at the next main.
Okay, thank you. And I'm supporting this LID because I did not receive any objections to it. Thank you.
I have a question. It's, when we're talking about the last one, we're talking about the person that starts the petition, do they make the decision of whether it's going to be contiguous or non-contiguous? The person comes in and says, I want to do this LID thing, and I want to choose A or B.
Through the mayor to Assemblymember McKee, yes, that is what happens. A person will come in and tell us if they want to do a mapped-in area, which is all contiguous.
Yeah.
Or if they want to do a non-contiguous and they pick the lots that they know are going to vote for it.
Yeah, so it sounds kind of crummy to me, because if you don't have anybody in that whole area, you don't really have an opinion. You don't go talk to people whose name, you might change their mind. I don't, maybe we really ought to change that part of this whole thing. This has been going on for the 3 years that I've been 4 years I've been on the assembly, whether you're talking about LMPs or continue. Mike, is there, and you're. is there
Yeah,
something-
we should stick to these two ordinances.
I was
at this
saying, I was asking the question, does the person who presents the petition have the right to do contiguous or non-contiguous? That was basically it. And then I kind of ad-libbed the rest of it. Just kind of.
Then you just sort of walk there on this other way. Yeah. Further discussion on the motion on the floor to approve these two ordinances. Is there any objection? Seeing and hearing no objection, then those two ordinances are passed. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 26007, an ordinance to enter into a lease with Celco Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless, for a communication site located at 5182 North Pittman Road, and to classify a portion of the subject parcel as general purpose lands. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 26-007. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Anyone in the audience that would like to testify on this ordinance? Do we have anybody online, sir? No? Don't see anybody moving around. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 26-007.
Okay, would you like to speak to it, or doesn't matter?
Let's do it.
Okay. Any discussion by the Assembly on 26007? Okay, hearing no objection, then that ordinance has passed. Now we're up to the second audience sorry, what?
Can I request a break, please? For us to take a small recess, because we still got a lot on agenda.
Let's take a break, Debbie. Okay, come back at 8:30, please. Can I have everybody come back to the table, please? So we are at our second audience participation, and we do not believe we have a sign-up sheet. Is there anyone here that would like to testify on any subject? Okay, do we have anybody online, Caleb? No. Okay. Alrighty. I'll go ahead. Oh, we do have one person. Okay, go ahead, who's ever online for audience participation, please.
I would like to vote against the range there at Zero Lake Road that's been brought up.
Yeah,
I think it shouldn't happen. I think it's going to be another mod road.
Would you state your name for the record, sir, please, and then give us your testimony? Thank you. Your name, please.
My name is Michael Leach.
Okay.
And I vote no on the Zero Lake Road shooting range.
Okay, continue your testimony.
I feel it's an unsafe opportunity, just as Mod Road turned out years ago. We had a lot of incidences out there throughout the state that involved the troopers and Palmer police. And I feel that Zero Lake Road would be a hazard to everybody in the area, let alone that there's multiple ranges within a 30-mile radius of that area. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Anybody else online? No? Okay. One last chance for anyone in here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close audience participation. We are now at the consent agenda. We do have a couple of items pulled, I believe, but is there any additional items? No? Okay. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Resolution 26003, a resolution amending the scope of work for the material site development reclamation project and authorizing the manager to sign a grant amendment. AM 26004, acceptance of late filed and retroactive senior citizen and disabled veteran exemption applications for the period of November and December 2025.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
I move to approve the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk.
Discussion by any of the assembly? Okay. Is there any objection to the items that clerk read? No? Okay, then that portion of the consent agenda has been approved. And then, Madam Clerk?
Resolution 26004, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for the net income received from the sale of the ferry. It was pulled by Assemblymember McKee.
Okay, Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead and move and then discuss.
I'd like to move Resolution 26-004.
Okay.
And just ask some questions about it.
Sure, now's the time.
It says the scope of budget for the net income. You know, when we sold it at such a loss, what's the net income? Can we just, what?
We sold the ferry to the Philippine Red Cross
I
in
know that.
2016 for $1.75 million.
But didn't it cost?
We used $250,000 as an insurance deductible for the repairs on the boat, so we had $1.5 million left in the bank. This is a resolution to allow us to spend that $1.5 million and send it to the FTA.
To pay it off, get rid of the thing. Well, okay, I'm for that. Never mind, that's my question. Thanks.
Okay. So is there any objection to Resolution 26-004? Your light is on, sir. Okay, thank you. So I don't hear any objection, so it's passed then. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
AM 26005, approval of the 2026 road service area road improvement project list. It was pulled by Assemblymember Sumner.
I move to adopt AM 26005. Or no, sorry. Yeah, okay, and then I need to move to amend it.
Yeah.
This was at the request of the administration. There was a typo. I moved to amend Adele Circle, August Circle project estimate on RSA 9 RIP list from 6.2 million to 620,000. There was one extra zero. So, we're not gonna, I just saved the borough a bundle of money, guys.
Yeah, any objection to the motion? Okay. Or to the amendment of the AM. Okay. Any objection to the amendment of the AM? Any objection to the AM as amended? No? Okay. All righty, that's it then, is it? Okay, so now we're at unfinished business.
The first item of unfinished business is ordinance 25-111, an ordinance amending MSB 17.55 setbacks and screening easements to reduce the minimum building setback requirement from pedestrian easements.
Okay, the main motion is on the floor, and we were having discussions, and it was postponed. So the main motion is on the floor at this time. Assemblyperson Nowers.
So I have an amendment to make to this, and just have to pull it up. I make a motion to amend the proposed legislation to change revise the definition of pedestrian easement that is in the legislation. The current definition is pedestrian easement means an area designated for public pedestrian travel that provides connectivity between streets, lots, or public areas. The proposed revised definition would read pedestrian easement means an easement specifically labeled as a pedestrian or walkway easement on the recorded subdivision plat intended exclusively for public pedestrian travel and providing connectivity between streets, lots, or public areas. And just to speak briefly to this is a result of conversations with the mayor and the planning director, and it's just to clarify that we are not talking about the separated pathways next to busy roads like the Palmer-Wasilla Highway, et cetera. So I'm glad that we were able to hold this, and I think it clarifies it and will just be an incentive, potentially helping developers be able to put in pedestrian walkways.
Okay. Further discussion? Yes. Assemblyperson Fano, go ahead.
Can we ask for the staff to ask a question, please, when it comes to this, please?
Okay, we're on the amendment now. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess there was some confusion by me personally and maybe a few other people, what this ordinance doing and now what is amendment doing? Can you explain to me, maybe to us, in a simple language, what the ordinance is doing and what the amendment is going to do in this case?
Yes. Through the mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
So this ordinance is, the intent of it was to apply to really a small amount of easements that we have or that are generally on older plats that are either on their pedestrian easements that were put on the edges of the property lines, or easements that go like connect from a street to a lake, and they're usually like 10-foot easements. If you think about a pedestrian walkway, if you have a 25-foot easement, because technically it's a public right-of-way and it requires a 25-foot setback from that, that would be a 60-foot swath for pedestrians, where you probably need a lot less than that. So lowering it down to 10 feet would make it basically a 30-foot swath if you have a 10-foot pedestrian easement and 10 feet on each side, which is more appropriate for true pedestrian easements. This amendment makes it very clear that this does not apply to like the separated walkways on any normal right-of-way. It has to be specifically delineated on the plat that it is either a pedestrian or walkway easement labeled on the plat as such, which brings it to really what the original intent of this ordinance is to apply to these narrow little walkway easements on the plats.
Okay, so the question then to sponsor, it's definitely like to pro-development or pro-builder type of ordinance. Is there a backstory behind how this was born and what caused for you to do that? Because by default, the radar goes one way, but then kind of learn. But I want to know if there's history or there's some tripped out or there's a person that's requested this. I'd like to know if there's any maybe backstory behind it, because I'm interested to know.
I'll take that in the facetious manner that was meant and say I cannot help your confusion about not listening to what I've been saying for the last 5 years, and that I hope that you will vote for this because it is something that would help developers and potentially help our community.
But I guess my question was there like a request, or you've seen a situation that this will benefit a certain thing that brought this to your attention that says, hey, that is a change that needed to be done, or this is just somebody like staff proposed, I guess. Was there a story, anything with that related, or no?
Staff brought it to my attention. I took a look at it and I said, that makes sense. We can have 10-foot setbacks instead of 25-foot setbacks. That makes sense to me, so.
Okay, well, that answers my question. Thank you.
I think you're rubbing off on her is what's going on, Dimitri.
Further discussion on the amendment. Yes, Assemblyperson Sumner.
Yeah, I had actually had some anecdotal experience with this where there was a couple that wanted assistance building a detached shop on their property. There was a pedestrian easement in between their lot and the next. It was just a little gravel path in Settlers Bay, actually. And then I had to break the news to them that, yeah, you can't fit a shop here because you have to be 25 feet away from this public right-of-way. So I know of at least one set of folks will be happy to hear that. I don't even know they own the house. It was like 10 years ago. But yeah, no, there's these walkways exist. I've encountered them. It is a little ridiculous to think that there's a 25-foot setback from a gravel walking path.
Okay. Further discussion? Yes, Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I just want to just state on the record, in case anybody's wondering. So I support this. I think this is great. This is going to give people more yard space. But also this makes it more safe, in my opinion. It's going to make it easier for development, and this is not impeding on any ATV or side-by-side trails. This is strictly in platted developments. I just want to make sure I'm incorrect on that. That's what I was thinking. No? Yes. Yep. Okay. So, yep. So I think this is a good thing. Thank you.
Okay. Any objection to the amendment? Okay, hearing. Did you raise your hand to object?
You want me to just do it just because?
Okay, all right. Now we're back to the main motion, ordinance 25-111 as amended. Further discussion by the Assembly. Is there any objection by the Assembly? Okay, then ordinance 25-111 has been approved. I think, Madam Clerk, we have
Next
another
item,
one, right?
Madam Mayor, is AM 25-148, awarded bid number 26086B to Recon in the contract amount of $191,200 to provide geotechnical evaluation of land identified as likely having high-quality deposits, of civil construction materials.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor. Do we have any amendments for the discussion on this AM? Assemblyperson Nowers, go ahead.
I was the one who asked for this to be postponed initially because of the high price tag and the fact that we only had a single bidder on it. I was able to talk to staff some about it. I did have one additional question, and I see Mr. Kruger is here. So I'd like to ask, as we develop these gravel pits, do we have existing borough gravel pits that we are not able to reclaim or have not been able to reclaim because we don't have the funding? So I know there's a rule we have to be reclaimed within a certain number of years. Do we have existing pits that the borough has maintained, borough sites that we are we just don't have the funding for right now to finish reclamation.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Emerson Kruger. I'm with the Land Management Division. In response to the question, have the borough left gravel pits unreclaimed? Does that kind of sum it up? So I have gone back through our records of all the sites where we've kept track of gravel extraction on borough-owned land. And I've found locations where the gravel source was exhausted back in the 80s, the 70s or 80s, sometime around there. And at that time, there were no rules on gravel extraction, and so they would stabilize the site and leave it be. There's one off of East Susitna River Road in Trapper Creek. So if you know Petersville Road hits the Parks Highway, it changes the name of the road, but it's basically the same road. On the north side of that, there's an area where they mined gravel, and they mined it down kind of far, and then they pulled out. It's largely reclaiming itself, and the reason is because it hasn't been subjected to ATV traffic. That seems to be the biggest challenge we have with gravel extraction sites being reclaimed. There were a couple other locations. One of them's in the port on about mile 19.2 of Point McKenzie Road on the south side of the road. They mined that area of borough land to build out the port road system. And, well, they mined it flat, and it's seen industrial uses over the years. So it's still largely just barren gravel. But not a lot of reclamation need there other than, you know, if they wanted it to grow grass, they need to put dirt down to support the grass growing. The other location would be it's an unfortunate name, but they call it the Section 6 pit. It's off of West Susitna Parkway. It was largely, in fact, I think it was only mined for the Point McKenzie rail extension, and it was mined out. Like they took all of the clean gravel from that site, and they met the borough's reclamation requirements, I think in 2015. But because of the access from the gravel extraction operation, we see a lot of ATV traffic and truck traffic on that property. And so I think it could use some additional attention to kind of redistribute the topsoil that they spread out and reestablish the grass where the tire traffic has beat it down. Just about every other location that I could find where gravel has been extracted from borough land is either still active or it's been converted to another use. Like the school sites off of Selden, Career Tech, and is it Teelan? Like they mine gravel there, and there's still an area right next to the schools, right off of Selden, that, excuse me, it still kind of looks like a material site. In fact, we were looking at it for salt storage a couple of years ago, and I don't think that's ever been reclaimed. So I think there would be some advantage there to laying down some topsoil and throwing some grass seed on it to encourage the vegetation to come back. But even that one, if you look at it where the ATVs haven't been operating, it is kind of naturally revegetating because it's pretty flat.
Thank you. And when we sell material out of there, do we make any sort of budget for paying for any reclamation that is required?
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. So some of the money that is generated from resource sales goes into the land management fund. I think it's a quarter of every dollar that we raise from resource sales. And so that's my understanding is we have this land management fund that the assembly controls, and there's a list of things that we can spend that money on. And I would argue that reclaiming land that generated some of that revenue would be a good use of that funding.
And last question. So I know from talking to you, I mean, this is a good chunk of change, almost $200,000, but your impression of that site is that it contains more material than enough to make up for that expenditure and that there is some companies, primarily the large gravel pit operators, who would be on the rail line who would be interested in that site?
Yes, ma'am.
Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
So the ones that you mentioned that the ATVs have run on and the trucks or whatever, they're not doing so well, but the other ones that have been left alone kind of are doing a little better. I've been here for 32 years, which is relatively short compared to some people. Some of those things have been around like forever. Is there no timeline associated with, okay, thou shalt have X number of years to reclaim this? Because you got that 25 cents out of every whatever it was there. It's not much, but is there not something that, I mean, it says you got to do it, but it never doesn't say when. Or does it?
Go ahead, sir.
So there is a timeline by which reclamation needs to be completed. And that was created in Borough Code, I think in 2012, 2016. So the gravel pits that were permitted after that time have to meet the borough's reclamation timeline. The gravel pits that existed before that, they don't have to meet that new timeline.
Is there? And I see that. How come we can't change that? Why don't we just do it anyway? I mean, they're pretty ugly, and nobody can do anything with them.
I would defer to the attorney's opinion on the pre-existing legal non-conforming status of the operations.
That's a long
Well, lunch, okay. Yeah, okay, I was just curious, because some of them I've been driving by for 32 years, and it just seems like it's going pretty slow. Thanks.
Okay, Assemblyperson now.
Just a quick comment in response. I believe the code is a 5-year timeline from when they stop graveling, but our code is very, for lack of a better word, wishy-washy on that. You can take a bucket of gravel out a year and say you're still graveling. So there's a lot of pits that haven't bothered to be, even though you don't really see the trucks going out of it, they're not getting reclaimed.
Deputy Mayor.
I just want to put out there, if there's no traffic and stuff like that, Willows and Cottonwood are going to be up within 5 years, and all your volunteer stuff like fireweed and all those other things, they're going to reclaim it on its own. We don't need to be spending a bunch of money to, unless it's a nuisance to where it's going to be harmful to somebody, but a lot of that stuff will happen on its own.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, thank you. Alrighty, is there any objection then? Has the objection been removed? Okay. Is there any objection then on the motion to approve AM 25-148? Okay, hearing none, then the legislation has passed. There has been no vetoes. Madam Clerk.
Introduction for public hearing on February 3rd is ordinance 25-123, ordinance 25-126, ordinance 25-128 with accompanying resolution 25-113, ordinance 26-001, ordinance 26-006, ordinance 26-008, ordinance 26-009, ordinance 26-10 with accompanying resolution 26-5, ordinance 2611 with accompanying resolution 26-6, and ordinance 2612 with accompanying resolution 26-7.
Okay. Deputy Mayor.
I move to introduce the legislation as read into the record by the clerk and set the public hearings for February 3rd, 2026.
Discussion?
I just have a question.
Uh-huh.
On 26009, where is that parcel? Where is that?
Down by Horseshoe Lake.
Oh, so you just go down Horseshoe Lake, you'll eventually see it? Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Any objection to setting the public hearings? Okay, hearing none, and the legislation has been introduced. Deputy Mayor.
I move to confirm the mayor's recommendation as follows. Historical Preservation Commission, Vivian Smith. Planning Commission, Ivan Favanov. Port Commission, Andrew Trexler.
Is there any discussion? Yes, Assembly Person.
I'd like to move to divide the question and take the appointment of Mr. Fonoff separately. I think there might be a conflict of interest we need to address.
So did you divide the question, or would you?
Move to divide the question, yeah, and take that appointment separately.
Okay. Ready? Any objection to dividing the question? Yes.
I
Okay.
object.
They have two people, we have two that are, okay?
Okay, the motion before you is to divide the question to take the appointment of Mr. Fonoff separately. And there has been objection, so if I can get everybody to vote. It has failed with Assemblymember Sumner, Gamble, and Nowers in support.
Okay. So we're back to the vacancy report. Any further discussion?
I have a question for the attorney about it. If you are related to somebody and you're voting on their vacancy, is that not something you should recuse yourself from?
So, as I've explained to Assembly members in the past, if an Assembly member believes they have a conflict, they're supposed to declare it to the mayor and ask to be excused from the matter. There's no mechanism in our code for one Assembly member to tell another Assembly member they have a conflict and they need to step back. Well, if it gets declared.
Well, I'll leave that. I think that would be a good idea. I do, just on, we have the Assembly and we have Plating Board and Planning Board. Those are three boards that actually make decisions for the borough. And I have an issue with having family members sit on those boards. If this was an advisory board, I would feel differently, but the Planning Commission is able to actually make decisions, and then those are actually appealed to the courts. And so I don't think it's a good practice for the Assembly to have family members sitting on those. I think we've got a lot of people in the Valley, and we need to be very, we have a lot of people to choose from. And I don't have anything against Mr. Fonoff, I don't know how you're related exactly, but I think we need to pick from a different pool. And I wasn't able to divide the question, but I don't think we should be putting family members on the main deciding bodies. So I'm going to object to this since I can't divide it.
Madam Mayor, I wasn't playing, but I didn't know from, I guess, previous conversation, I heard that the attorney said that, I guess we kind of appoint ourselves, or whether it's a family or not. If you believe Aldo, he is a nephew of mine, if there's any reason, I'm more than happy to step away for the decision making. However, I will say, based on the what I have had to recommend from, I believe that the person is qualified and is kind of has an independent voice of his own. So, so if you think I should step down, we don't even need to divide the question. I'm willing to do that.
So let me ask you this question. How many Fonoffs do you think there are in the Valley?
80 or 90, maybe 110. It's hard to say. There is family members that don't carry our last name because my sisters had kids or nephews. So, but there's a decent amount of family in there.
So you can say you can't serve on a board. So anyway, so go ahead.
I didn't mean that they couldn't serve on boards, but when it comes to our main boards, there aren't many boards that actually can be decisions. There's a lot of advisory boards. These are the decisive boards. And that's where I think the difference lies in terms of looking for a diversity.
So, then I'll ask question back. So if I have a brother or a cousin who lives in a different district and he independently runs and wins the election, now we have two related people on the board. Is that also a problem, or that's fair game in your opinion?
Assemblyperson Bowles, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So to speak to that, I'm looking at the application. If Mr. Fanoff, not Assemblymember Fanoff, but if Mr. Fanoff, I completely agree, and I understand the concerns. Looking at the application, though, Mr. Fanoff has construction experience. He has experience with planning, and it's not like he's a healthcare person like me, a healthcare admin person like me that's just related to Assemblymember Fanoff. So I don't necessarily disagree that maybe Assemblymember Fanoff should recuse himself, but looking at his application, I think he's probably qualified to fill the role.
So, Madam Mayor, I am very comfortable, even if necessary, if you believe so. I did answer the questions about my relationships and size of our family, and it's no secret that we have a lot of relatives here, so.
So let me ask you this question. Do you feel that you can be objective when something comes to us from the Planning Commission and whether that person, the Fanoff person, voted yes or no, that you still could look at it objectively and vote?
I think you'll see somewhat of a similar reflection of where I see Max and Jesse disagree against each other, although they're brothers. And for those who know Ivan, he definitely has opinion of his own and is not a pushover in any way. However, he does bring an experience of many years and with road construction experience and that kind of stuff. So that's where I think his expertise will, in that body, will play a good role. Ultimately, he's just 1 out of 7, and I'm 1 out of 7. So.
Okay, further discussion. Let's see, Deputy Mayor, you have your light on. And
Just point of order.
Okay.
Point of order. Do we have to rule on the conflict of interest before we have more discussion on the main motion? Do we have?
Right, yes, I know, I do, but I didn't know if I wanted to hear the rest of, there's other assembly people that wanted to chime in. Assemblyperson Sumner?
I would reserve my comments until you make a decision on the potential conflict.
Okay. Assemblyperson McKee?
Yeah, I guess I'd just like to give a shout out for the Bonos. I know several of them, and sometimes you can't get them in the same room and they'll agree on the same thing. So, I mean, they're very opinionated, which is a good thing, Dimitri. I really think they hold their own. I come from a large family too. And no two of them agreed on anything most of the time. So I'm comfortable with whatever happens, just for those reasons.
Okay, so I believe you don't have a conflict then, sir. So, okay, Assemblyperson Howard?
So back to the main motion, I mean, in practicality, I think you would find if I got together with my brothers, they, you might be surprised how different the opinions are, but there's like the practicality of it and there's also the appearance of it. So if somebody comes before the Planning Commission and then they come before the Assembly and it's all Fanoffs, you know, we've had Sumners and McKees, but one at a time, and we have never had family on both deciding boards. And so I feel like if somebody's coming before the borough and they expect independent decisions, it's both that practicality and the appearance. And if it's the same family, I think that even though your nephew may have very different opinions than you, it gives that appearance. And we have 100,000 people in the borough. There are 100 Fanoffs. I mean, that's, I'm trying to do the math, but there's a lot of people who could serve on that. And Ivan, I would be happy to have him serve on an advisory board. It's just that the planning and the plating board are the other two bodies in the borough that make decisions for the populace. And so I don't think, for the appearance sake, that it's good to have family members fill all those positions.
If I may respond to that.
Okay.
I will respond to that quickly. we're not here to please up somebody's opinion. I think his work will speak for himself. Like I said, I'm willing to step away and have you guys make the decision of your own. As a matter of fact, I think I would choose to do that voluntarily, if that's okay with the body, unless there's objection. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying, but Ms. McKee and a couple of people spoke of the character of where we stand, and Mr. Gamble privately just quietly told me there is definitely, we have opinions of our own, so, that's the health thing, so, but we do carry our last name, and I could say I'm proud of it, and he's a decent man.
Assemblyperson Sumner, comments?
Yeah, I can honestly say I've never met a Farnoff that wasn't a hardworking, dedicated individual that I respected. But I don't think that their last name should make any bearing on this decision whatsoever. You know, I can attest personally how hard it is to fill some of these board seats with people that are engaged and willing to put in the time and effort necessary to. You know, Mr. Farnoff himself asked me if I knew of anyone in his district to fill this seat. You know, and I did not. You know, I don't think that this was his first choice to have to bring a nephew. I think that, you know, this is someone that is willing and able to fill the role, and I think we should take a look at him on his own merits and disregard the fact that he's related to Mr. Farnoff. Mr. Farnoff's related to Mr. Farnoff.
Assemblyperson McKee.
Yeah, because when we talk about, you know, the relationships, isn't it how it's going to benefit one person? I mean, there's an awful lot of decisions that go on that are not going to benefit Dimitri at all. And I understand the thing about the appearance of the thing. Could it ever be that when we said, well, you know what? I'm going to go right back to the way this is run. If Dimitri feels that let's say his nephew voted for something that he just violently disagrees with, okay, he'll probably stay where he is. But he might consider the other, like when it comes up, say, was I influenced in any way? And if Dimitri says he wasn't, that's good enough for me. So I mean, when I put you together with him, that seems to me like a pretty good pairing. I'm okay with this.
Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
I'd just like to throw in there that quite often this assembly completely disregards the advice of the Planning Commission. So I don't know that it's necessarily would have any influence.
Assemblyperson Hours.
I would just say, as an example, we had two ladies in the back who just feel like you could see they feel like they didn't get a fair shake from this assembly. If they go to the Planning Commission and a Farnoff tells them no, and then they come here and a Farnoff tells them no, they're just going to feel like, that's what I'm talking about, the appearance. I get that it's probably not in practicality, but that's why we have rules about avoiding the appearance of a conflict of interest, because it undermines the trust that the public has. So I will be a no vote. I might be outvoted, but I just don't think it's a good idea for those deciding bodies. If this was an advisory body, again, I would have no problem with it.
Further discussion on the vacancy report?
I will make another comment after talking to Ivan, because I was the one who approached him, and he agreed to step up, and he also said, once you'll see the person who is well more qualified than me, who fits better that, I'm willing to step down. So that's just to give you an idea of his character.
Okay, so there is objection to the vacancy report?
If I can get everybody to vote.
Okay.
You're voting on the vacancy report?
The whole vacancy, to accept the whole vacancy report.
Correct. Madam Mayor, it passed with assembly member Nowers opposed.
Okay. All righty, then let's see. There is no new business, and there are no referrals, there are no reconsiderations, and we're ready for parting comments. Mr. Attorney, parting comments for this evening. Okay, Assemblyperson McKee, parting comments. No? Assemblyperson Sumner, parting comments.
I would just like to mention that I found myself at there was a governor's event at the King's Chapel where there was 3 assembly members and then the borough mayor was there. I did not speak to more than one other assembly member while I was there, and I talked to the attorney, and there is no conflict with the OMA. But I just wanted to, since we were there, I wanted to put that out on the record.
Okay.
And just for the record also, I did advertise there may be a quorum of you there present, but it's always good that not a quorum of you is standing around talking.
You mean we have to acknowledge them?
Well, you could nod and say, hey.
I'm just teasing you. Deputy Mayor, parting comments.
Yeah, I've got a couple things. One, Steve already left, but I just wanted to assure him that I didn't fire him, but the reason I didn't appoint him back on the RSA board was he was elected as a chair of Meadow Lakes Community Council, and I figured that was a full plate. The other thing, he had a couple of road projects that was expensive and roads that didn't meet borough standards that he was trying to push up on the road list. Other than that, Steve's a great guy. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out. Thank the Lord. We praise you. We thank you for your love and your mercy. We ask you to guide us, Lord, to bless the borough, bless our state, and help our country, Lord. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Assemblyperson Hours, parting comments?
I appreciated the discussion on the water body setback, and I hope we'll get together again to see if we can find some consensus up here. I want to speak to Mr. Edwards too, because, I don't think when I took this job on the assembly, it was to make government work for the people. And so there's nothing more important to me than the people's trust. And we don't have a lot of trust. And so we need to do everything we can to build that. And part of that is people who serve on these boards can have different opinions than us. But to me, if the boards if they're willing to do the work, they're willing to look at the facts, and they conduct themselves civilly and professionally and make their cases, that's the most we can ask for. And so I've watched Mr. Edwards on that board, on the big board as well. And he was one of the, what do they say, the STP, same three people who show up and do all the work. He was the guy who was showing up. He was taking the minutes. He was running the meeting professionally, civilly. There are you talk about few people willing to serve on the boards. There are very few people who will step into those positions and take on that extra work in their busy lives. So from what I saw of Mr. Edwards, I just wanted to say thank you to him. I know he's left, but it did not, it may be worth mending some fences with the big board, because the impression given and spoken at that meeting was the assembly doesn't care about this board. When they see somebody who has contributed so much be pushed out against their will, or say they're being pushed out against their will when they're still willing to serve. So I just wanted to be on the record thanking him, because 16, 19 years of serving the borough in a volunteer capacity, that deserves a thank you.
Mr. Manager, parting comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be very brief. As you can see from introductions, we have 10 public hearings on the next agenda. It will be packed. So if there's anything on the consent agenda that you see or in the public hearings that you want to talk about that we can help out with just to keep the meeting moving next meeting, let us know. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Madam Clerk, parting comments? Okay. Assemblyperson Bowles, parting comments?
So I just want to thank all of the borough staff. Since I've been in this position, I know I've been, in my opinion, bogging all of you down. So thank you for the work that you're doing for me on my behalf with the ordinances that I've got moving forward. Our attorney, I want to thank you for the work that you did on the ferry. That's outstanding. For those that don't know, he saved us millions upon millions of dollars. So, and also our manager and deputy manager, they take our questions and everything gracefully here, and all of the staff here, I've learned they definitely work their butts off for us. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Assemblyperson Gamble, parting comments, sir?
Yeah, I thought that Dimitri and Stephanie were turning over a new page until the very end here. So much for that. Anyways, I want to echo what Assemblymember Nauer said about Mr. Edwards. I've known Steve for probably 30 years. He's been involved in the community council in Meadow Lakes and the road service area board for many, many, many years. And I received several phone calls from members of the big board about Mr. Edwards not being reappointed to the board and how disappointed that they were that happened. And then as I looked at the mayor's appointments and saw that Sheena Fort from Caswell Lakes and Tam Bovey from Willow, even though I don't agree with them on a lot of issues, and Steve too, I mean, I just don't on a lot of issues, but they are dedicated volunteers in our communities and have been for years, and to see them just kind of tossed to the side is pretty disappointed. And, you know, Andrew Traxler here, he's on the RSA 21 board, and him and I don't agree all the time. And I just reappointed Garland Morrison, who I tried to have removed for not attending, and he stepped up. Garland stepped up and started attending and doing what he was supposed to. And so when the mayor asked me about reappointing him, you know, I didn't let my personal feelings or anything that happened interfere with that. I asked her to reappoint Garland to the RSA 21 board. So it's a shame to see people that have dedicated many, many years of their lives just kind of get tossed aside because of personal issues or because of political issues. Thank you.
Parting comments? Assembly Person Fowler?
Yes. There was a history in time when me and Stephanie voted together on something. It was like something in August of last year, maybe before that. So there was a history made before. Today we also voted on the same thing. So there has been, but since the community cleanup and I was in a loader and she said I was too short and riding a big loader, she made a lot of those jokes. So it goes back and forth. So it is a just I have that with one of my sisters, so it's okay. Famous person of the left said elections has consequences, and I believe once you're elected and you ran for that position, there are certain things that come with that territory, and one of those things is you get to appoint if mayor does her part and then body approves. So there is that portion, and I think we run on certain issues. We want to fix certain stuff, and then sometimes certain people don't align with what you promised your constituent when you run. But those other people that are in appointment positions, whether they go the directions you promised your constituents, because those people are not elected to the office, they're appointed, and that's why there's a term. And I think that's the privilege of if you want to deliver on some of the promises that you run, once their term expires. I've had to wait on the planning commission. Somebody was appointed on the planning in my district for almost like 2.5 to 3 years before that term ended, before the replacement could take place. So there's a delay reaction, but there is a process for it, and I think we are grateful for those people who dedicated a lot of time, even if it's 19 or 20 years. But sometimes the direction needs to go a little different, maybe a different direction. And I do know there's a very more qualified people, and hopefully they'll be welcomed. And then that is part of moving the direction. That's why we have term limits here. So if and I believe 19 years is a lot of years, and we're thankful for that. When it comes to election, when it comes to appearances, like I was thinking to myself, like Stephanie said about appearance, like I don't actually like these glasses. I think they look kind of not that great in general, but they do help me see things better. So there's appearance stuff and then there's a practical stuff. So I do think, in my opinion, we have what's best options that we think, and we move them forward, and we hope the rest of the body supports it. And then if things don't work out, we replace them. So I do think overall I support each other assembly members, even if I don't like their picks, but I will support them because that's just the part of the territory, and we want to help to go certain directions, whatever we think is best for what we're elected for. So thank you for the support, and thank you for those who spoke in the character of my family and my those who knew, because you guys know where our hearts is at, even if sometimes we disagree. So thank you for that.
Yes. Here, you have some questions down here? No? Okay. So, you're ready to get out of here? Do you have a question? Do you have? No, you're okay.
I wanted to say something.
Okay.
There's
That's
really
very
a benefit to having a broken leg, and I'll tell you what it is. Really, there are people who are so helpful that maybe have never even seen you before in their life, and they'll practically carry you down the street. And this gentleman here, what, Traxler? Yeah, it's like, freezing cold, and he just walked me all the way to my car and stayed there while he made sure that I was in okay. I just think that's wonderful, and I really appreciated it, and I do.
She wants you to do it again tonight.
Yes. There you go.
So, okay, and
done.
everybody got everything off their chest tonight. So if there's no objection, I will adjourn the meeting at 9:21.
The conference has ended. You will now be disconnected. Goodbye.
Oop.